What's going on, everybody? This is your former AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Once a champion, always a champion. Swerve Strickland. Whose house? Swerve's house. You're watching Tru Heel Heat podcast.
Yo, what up? You know what it is. It's your boy AJ Francis reporting to you live from New York City, the birthplace of hip-hop. And I'm telling you that I'm only tuned in with Tru Heel Heat Wrestling. Holla at me.
What's up, Tru Heel Heat? Tru Heel Heat.
What's up?
Tru Heel Heat. It is Saturday. No, it is not. It is Sunday morning. We are here for the Sunday morning cookout. Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast. Y'all know the deal. Talking about the latest and greatest in wrestling news. And of course, we got to discuss Sami Zayn completing the OG Bloodline reunion this week on SmackDown, plus much, much more, including who is the real most important member of the OG Bloodline. We'll discuss all of that, plus much, much more. It's the Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast. Let's get to it. Hello. It is me, your Tru Heel Phenom SP3. We are live on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for Tru Heel Heat 302 Dynasty within the Bloodline. We will be discussing the latest wrestling news, including who is the most important member of the OG Bloodline. Is WWE NXT just better than AEW Dynamite now after winning the ratings war on AEW's night? Plus a recap of this week in wrestling with everything between the Sami Zayn completing the OG Bloodline reunion from both Raw and SmackDown. We'll be talking about WWE NXT 2300 from the former ECW Arena with Legends and an all-star 10-women tag team main event. Also AEW Dynamite featuring Adam Cole versus Malakai Black with his future being put into question. Talking about Black, you got NJPW Power Struggle, NJPW Fighting Spirit Unleashed, and of course, we got some TNA action to discuss, plus much, much more. She is back after a week hiatus. The beautiful, the lovely.
Week hiatus. First of all, let's get into our new intro. Okay, that's cute. The orange part looks a little freaky, but it's cute though still. Okay, but love it. Who did it? Great job, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Welcome back, SP3. Hello, peeps. I am here. How is everyone? Well, I shouldn't ask that because it's been a shitty week over here. But hey.
I understand. I understand why. It's understandable. And of course, we got our main man, the filling out of our trio here, the true draw himself. Josh, how are you feeling?
A little bit under the weather. This weather is bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
We had like 80 degrees and went from 80 degrees to 50 degrees.
Yeah.
Like
that's a fact. That's a whole fact.
Tends to do that from time to time, but glad you're here with us. And yes, it was even though we did our last podcast on Sunday, feels like so much happened this week, but you can condense it in one, but there's a lot of stuff we got to discuss. We appreciate y'all for joining us live. Appreciate y'all if you are watching us on demand. Remember to show your appreciation back the simplest way possible. Let's drop the thumbs up on this video. You can share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you're new to the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here, and sound off in the live chat. We love to interact. You guys hear your thoughts on the latest in professional wrestling. As always, here on the Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast, we're talking about everything WWE, AEW, New Japan, as well as TNA, and even some little bits more. So if you got any questions, any thoughts you want to have read out on screen, you can sound off in the live chat, but you can also send a super chat donation. Any dollar amount matters. It goes back to the contributors that you see on screen with us here, and we always appreciate that kind of support. We also got some of our members in the chat already. We got I Make Beats, who has been a member for 3 months. Let's go. You can hit just $1 a month. You get exclusive in-chat perks as well as exclusive content. So always appreciate our members in the chat. We got I Make Beats, who says I missed a lot. THH this week. Let's go. Yes, you can catch up on the catch up because we had a couple of days off. So some of us are refreshed. Some of us didn't get off a flight just a couple hours.
Oh, yes.
We also got Call Me Mr. Bonda, who says New York City up in this bid. HH, indeed. Good to see you. And yes, I am. It sounds like I'm back in New York. Yeah, you can hear from the background that I'm back in. You can tell the difference between my background when I'm in the UK.
Are you not by the door on the side? They're gonna hit you on the back, So you're good.
Yeah, no Harlem to hit me in the face and run in and punch me and stuff like that.
Make you drink strange things, Highlights.
Yes, I've had to drink some of that stuff over the last couple of months. I'm gonna have messed up insides, but yes, I am in New York. Thank you guys. Appreciate the love in the chat. We got G Loke in the chat who says, "Damn, I'm loving the intro at THH." Yes, shout outs to Romeo for our new intro, countdown intro. We still need our new THH intro. He's like 2 episodes late. He said he would have it for 301, so this is now the second episode that he hasn't come on time. So Ren's due. No, but we appreciate Romeo for all the support and the great intro to the show. But yes, Krssi Love, you missed out on last week. We had me, Top Guy JJ, and there was a lot of insulting going on as usual between JJ and Josh. But we were nice about the.
All right, I gotta go back and watch it.
Any thoughts on the releases from last week? Baron Corbin, Indy Hartwell, and Tegan Knox.
Tegan Knox, it's unfortunate, but the other two, damn, Indy was just on TV like the night before. So like that's just terrible.
The same night she got they announced the release is the same night she was on her last match because it was taped in advance.
Right, because it was taped it was taped at the Barclays the week before.
Yeah.
Right, damn. So the night we seen on TV, well, when it was filmed, basically she was like, got her. That sucks. I mean, I could have. I know there's a lot.
She froze.
Yeah. I was like, did I mess up or did she freeze?
I froze. Okay, I'm back.
Yeah,
okay,
you're back.
It's unfortunate about Baron Corbin because he's made lemon out of lemonade several times, and he went on. I think his run on NXT was great. I think it kind of like relit a match underneath him, but I guess they didn't see that, so they snipped him.
We talked about it last week. They used him as kind of like the enhancement guy for Braun Breaker that last year in NXT, and then he gets let go, and Braun Breaker's off to bigger and better things as Intercontinental Champion.
Now I'm back. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay,
I noticed.
I'm gonna go out and come back. I'm just gonna do that.
All right, fair enough. Well, we got a shout out. Thank you for everyone watching us. Thank you for all your support across the way. So we always start off the flagship podcast with our Tru Heel roll call. Our top 3 conversation starters over on the Tru Heels group page, once again, is Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting, Rion Yingle, Stewie John Palmer. You also got our Patreon backers, which is Vala B, Alan Weinstein, Negro Buck Nick Jackson, Alex McCarthy, Professor Chris, Trey, Robert, Steve, Ladarius, John, Dan Snide, Kobe, Dolores, John Martin, DJ Eric, Marcus, James, Alan, and Santo. Thank you so much for supporting us over at patreon.com/Tru Heel Heat. $3 a month gets you exclusive content, plus much, much more. But yes, we have a lot to discuss, and this is true. Harlem's accent has gone haywire, where she's going to be a British speaking little girl in like a New York school, which is going to be Godspeed. But yes. But yes, I will tell Harlem that you guys miss her. But yes, let's talk about WWE this week. We're going to start off with Monday Night Raw, which transitions pretty smoothly into what went down on SmackDown this week as well. But WWE Raw came from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and featured the first ever women's crown jewel champion, Liv Morgan, and Dominic Mysterio along with her, as well as Raquel Rodriguez, kicking off with a celebration following her big win at the show that was interrupted by WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. This led to Io Sky winning a number 1 contenders battle royal that broke down from after this, announced by Adam Pearce. It came down to Io and Lyra Valkyria, with Io picking up the win to become the number 1 contender for Liv Morgan's WWE Women's World Championship after Morgan and Raquel eliminated Bianca and Jade. And then you also had another number 1 contenders matchup. It was a 4-way as Damian Priest picked up the win over Dominic Mysterio, Sheamus, and Seth Rollins. Thanks in large part, Seth not getting the win here is due to Bronson Reed with a path to destruction during the matchup. In this very good 4-way matchup for Damian Priest to become the number 1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. You also had Dragon Lee picking up a win over Chad Gable in a very damn good matchup here. Very surprised at how good this one was. They had great chemistry with one another. And of course, we had the latest chapter in the Bloodline saga. Following what went down at Crown Jewel, you had Sami Zayn coming out speaking Arabic to that Riyadh crowd, and it led to both members of the Usos coming down. Jimmy Uso accusing Sami Zayn of the kick to the face being intentional. Sami calling Jimmy out for always being the one that turns on everybody. He turned on him. He turned on Roman. He turned on Jay. And then he also said that for a few moments there at Crown Jewel, he felt the love. It was great. It was something special that they had together, but he had to let it go because it only lasted that 1 minute. But Jey Uso pleaded with Sami to come to SmackDown to talk things out with Roman, and that he is family. Sami Uso is family to the Bloodline, which of course led into this week's Friday Night SmackDown, which had Roman Reigns and the Usos starting things off before Sami Zayn came out and stated his case to an OG Bloodline reunion. and saying that he wanted Roman to apologize to Jey Uso, but Reigns refused. He called out Solo Sikoa. Jacob Fatu responded and said Roman can come to acknowledge Solo later in the show. And during the Undisputed Tribal Chief acknowledgement ceremony, Solo challenged Roman to find 4 partners for War Games with his bloodline of Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Jacob Fatu, and his dog, Sami Zayn. But the bloodline jumped Roman just as Sami came out until the Usos made the save. Then Solo held up Roman for Sami to hit with another Aluva kick, but Sami kicked Solo instead. We saw Sami and Roman teaming up to getting the better of the rest of the bloodline. And then the show finally ended with all 4 members of the OG bloodline together in the ring and putting their ones up to a great ovation from the crowd that night. You also had Nick Aldis. He announced their first ever WWE Women's United States Championship with both Raw and SmackDown stars eligible. In the women's division, you also had Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill beat Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax. You had Bayley defeating Candice LeRae in one-on-one action. And then you also had DIY defeating Deadly with Tommaso Ciampa doing it on his own for the most part to prove a point to Johnny Gargano. Later in the show, you had the WWE Tag Team Champions Motor City Machine Guns beat A-Town Down Under in a solid matchup. And then it was announced the Street Profits will face Motor City Machine Guns next week on SmackDown for the titles. And finally, you had the other big angle of the show outside of the bloodline, which was Randy Orton calling out Kevin Owens to continue their crown jewel brawl, which led to KO delivering a power driver to Orton, and Orton being stretchered out of the building with Cody getting in the ambulance to send him to the hospital. So some big angles on SmackDown this week, more or less set up from Monday Night Raw for future weeks to come, as well as for the Bloodline reunion that we saw on SmackDown. Miss Krssi Love, what did you think about the completion of the Bloodline reunion on Raw and SmackDown this week?
It was good. Took a little longer than they, needed to for the segment. I feel like it was like dragging at one point. But it was good. I thought they would have prolonged it for one more week, but I guess when is War Games supposed to be? You're muted, friend.
November 30th is Survivor Series.
Okay. So, I forgot. It's not called War Games, it's Survivor Series. Yay.
Survivor Series.
Survivor Series War Games. So I guess they had to push it in motion. But yeah, I thought they were kind of once he didn't do the whole say I'm sorry bit, I figured it would have went one more week. But hey, it is what it is. It was done.
They never get Roman to apologize. Roman got what he
did. And I don't think he was going to either. I wouldn't apologize. What am I apologizing for? You turned on us. I wouldn't apologize for you. You want me to apologize to you? No, thank you. I'm not doing that shit. Who the fuck are you? You're lucky even to be here.
He's not family.
He's not. So
hey, family's who you make it.
That is very true. You're absolutely right. You make your own family because your own family be shit sometimes. So
hey, we see how Rikishi be talking about his family. So,
and that's Dave Daddy.
Josh, what did you think about Sami Zayn's work this week in bringing the OG bloodline all together?
I mean, it was cool to watch, but I don't know. I'm just not as into it, like I mentioned, like a week ago, just because it's everything's too predictable for me at this point. So it was kind of how can I really get that excited? For at least me. Now everybody else is excited. That's fine because I get it because they loved when they were together. But for me, as somebody that's usually for me it's kind of really hard to try to impress me or whatever the case may be. It's really not that impressive to me. That's just how I feel about it. Just because once they get to War Games, I mean, we've been saying this shit for months, right? We've been saying oh yeah, they're gonna get back together and then they're gonna do War Games. So for it to happen, I mean, it's cool to see, but it is I mean, we expected this. I mean, I guess it's better than what they've been doing lately with the Temu bloodline. So, I mean,
don't do that to Temu. Don't do that to Temu Bloodline. Solo's been doing great. Him laughing at Roman.
No, Solo was great on Friday. I was like, oh my God, Solo is even better than he was before. Like he was just laughing and just like going out of character. Like you ain't got no family. You ain't got no bloodline. Who you need? It was
Hey,
so
man.
good. Solo's gotten better.
Hey, I'm just saying, man.
God.
I mean, hey, it takes one every 5 times for Solo to do something right. So I mean,
You
hey,
know,
this was
okay,
his moment. So I mean, that's good.
Well, yeah,
Friday,
I get.
I mean,
Oh,
Friday
he's
was a good
good
moment.
character. He's always good on the mic. He's just not that great in the ring. The ring.
Yeah, when the
That's
bell
what I'm
rings. Yeah,
He's
when
not
the
good
bell
at
rings.
wrestling, but he's good at the acting part and the mic stuff.
Yes.
That is good at.
Yeah, like when he had the ticket. Remember on Raw when he had the ticket? That shit was funny.
I paid my
He
money.
had the ticket.
I got my ticket.
He's so. He
I mean,
has
stuff like that. Yeah, he's good.
He's got the Usos charisma when it goes like. That's what the Usos are able to do, which makes us like them even as heels.
Like poor Jimmy couldn't even keep his face straight. He was just laughing and just grinning, like just happy to be here, just happy to be on TV.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
so
happy to be back with his real family.
So Jay is a big star now. He doesn't have to come out with the rest of the family. He gets his own intro.
He came out second at Crown Jewel.
I know.
Me and Josh, we talked about that last week and on the Crown Jewel review. That was a statement.
Isn't it though? I was like, wait, he coming out last? I was like, the other two come out first. I was like, is he the bigger one out of everybody now?
Which begs the question, which we're gonna ask here. So let's talk about it. Because with the OG Bloodline getting back together, I've heard a lot of people talk about, this is like the best version of the Bloodline. It's cool with the 3 family members, but Sami Zayn is like the most important member to getting people to care. And that's what I wanted to ask this week. Who is the most important member of the Bloodline story? Of course, you got Roman Reigns, who is the leader of the OG group. Always in the fire of the issues and interpersonal battles. He's the top draw of WWE. Or is it Jey Uso, who's like the breakout star of the group, like we've been talking about, and how popular he's become? And he's been like at the center of most of the emotional and memorable moments. You got Jimmy Uso, who is the first person, like we said earlier, to always turn, having betrayed every other member of the group. And he's Roman's real right-hand man, despite Jey getting that title before him. And then you got Sami Zayn, who is like the most popular member who has been in the group. Like his run as the honorary Uso, I don't think anyone was as popular as him in that OG Bloodline. And he's the catalyst for that most iconic era of the Bloodline from 2022 through 2023. So, I'll start with you, Josh, since you're the hardest to please. Who would you say is the most important member, and how would you rank them in importance?
Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns. He's the most important member. Like you said it. He's the top guy. He's the top draw, right? He was the champion when he was with the Bloodline for over 1,300 days. He's the most important member. There's nothing, right? It's like if you take out LeBron James from the Lakers. Are the Lakers as good without LeBron James? No. That's how I see it.
True. Can't say you're wrong. Can't say you're wrong there. What about you?
And as in ranking, I would say Roman first, Jey second, Sami third, Jimmy fourth.
Okay. So you said Jey second?
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. That's interesting. Krssi, what about you? Who would you say is the most important, and how would you rank them?
So what he put Jimmy? I mean, he put Roman 1.
Roman 1, Jey 2, Sami 3, and then Jimmy 4.
Oh yeah, Jimmy's definitely number 4. Like Jimmy's like
I think that's the like who is the least important member of the Bloodline. I think that there would be no debate or question about that.
I have to agree and say Roman is definitely like the key component to have this whole group together. There's no Bloodline without Roman, I feel like. Then you put Jey, because when we were in pandemic, it was just those two. I think they forget about how he became main event Jey, like how he got pushed out. And this stardom all happened is during the pandemic when we was looking at screens. And then we had no crowds. So you have to put Roman first. Jey is definitely number 2. Honorary Uso of Sami is number 3 for sure. I can even say that they can probably like tie that number 2 spot, to be honest.
That's fair.
I think matter of fact, I think Jimmy and Sami could definitely go neck and neck as far as their roles for this group. And then I would put Jey at dead last. Like we're skipping 3 and going to 4.
That's fair. All right. I think nah. I don't think Roman's the most important member. I really don't. Like even me, Roman loving SP3, I can't say that because I feel like the Bloodline was on a downturn at the beginning of 2022. Like the Brock Lesnar storyline with Roman, with Paul Heyman in the middle, that was kind of like the driving force of the Bloodline angle. The Usos were already tag team champions, but what were they doing at WrestleMania? They were facing Shinsuke Nakamura and Boogs. Like they weren't hot stuff at that point. Like really the turning point of the Bloodline and really a big catalyst to the Bloodline becoming this iconic figure that we're talking about. We did a podcast last year. Is the Bloodline the greatest WWE storyline of all time? I don't think it gets to that level without Sami Zayn coming into play after WrestleMania 38 in 2022. Like he drove a lot of the emotional beats, and he was kind of like, it was kind of like putting a peg in this round hole. It didn't fit with the Bloodline, and that created a lot of the different dissension and interpersonal kind of battles that Roman had to deal with Jey and Jimmy. It was first Sami turning on the Bloodline that was the catalyst for that. The ending of the Royal Rumble, the honorary Us promo, like the Usi promo. There's like iconic moments that he created being in that Bloodline. So if I'm not saying he's the most important member for the WWE, but to the Bloodline storyline, I think Sami is most important than anybody else because it would just be just the family, and it would just be Roman. Roman would be viewed as a big like political player who's only trying to put over his own family if it wasn't for Sami Zayn being a part of this group and benefiting from it. I think that Sami is number 1, and then I would go Roman number 2, Jey number 3, Jimmy number 4.
I can see that. I get it.
We got Chuck Berries in the chat with a super chat donation. Thank you so much, Chuck Berries. We'll always appreciate the support. He says, "What's good, THH fam?" He says, "I believe I sent one of those super chats that had you slipping that bad concoction from Harlem." Yes, I remember that.
You did. Because he was like, if you send super chats, I'll drink this. And then we got like maybe like 3 or 4 super chats, and you drank. It was nasty, poor thing.
It was disgusting. I said my insides are gonna be messed up one day. He says, "What's good, THH fam?" He says, "Fun times, I kid. LOL. Welcome back to the States. Appreciate the love." Chuck Berries, thank you so much. And he also sends another super chat donation. Thank you so much, Chuck. He says, "I'm starting to believe that Naomi and Bayley will bump heads next week and start their own feud with Naomi turning heel. Who's the favorite for the new WWE United States Women's title?" What do you think, Miss Krssi Love? Who's your favorite to win the new championship over on? Well, it's eligible for Raw and SmackDown.
First of all, I thought it would have been an IC title, not a US title, but whatever. That's just me. I mean, if we're gonna go down the line of like history and belts, like that's like, did they make it as the same carbon copy as just like copy and paste, just made it white? I was like, can't we have any type of like distinction for the ladies? Like, why do we have to have the same exact belts? Like,
but that's what they always do.
I know. You're right. It's assuming that we're in a 35-year marriage and you haven't changed one bit. You're still the same person you were before we got married. You're right. It is. It's true.
Gotta keep it real.
Yeah, I'm trying. So it's eligible for both brands. So it's gonna go back and forth. Okay.
I guess for now, that's what they're trying to say. Because it was Nick Aldis who made the announcement on SmackDown. He's SmackDown GM. So I think a lot of people just assumed it was going to be for SmackDown, but then they went over to Michael Cole, who was like, the belt's going to be eligible for both Raw and SmackDown.
That's pretty fucking stupid.
Why is this stupid? I think it's the right move.
I mean, that's pretty fucking stupid. Like, I mean, as in, like, if they're, I mean, like, if they're
It's
like gonna,
it's like the tag belts. It's the same shit. Like
no,
you
like, no, I'm saying like it's pretty fucking stupid because it's like, if they're doing that, right, and like what I mean by that is like, so they're saying it's eligible for both brands. So when somebody wins it, are they able to wrestle have the title in both brands? Like, well, how is that gonna work? Because
I guess so. It's gonna be like the woman's
because you're telling me that's kind of more important than like the world championships. Like, that's how that feels to me.
Well, is the women's tag team titles more important than the women's championship on either brand?
I mean,
Well, I mean, they barely show. I mean, they barely show up, so you don't even really like notice when it comes to that.
Well, they have been showing up lately. Bianca and Jade pretty much are building like two feuds on SmackDown and Raw.
Yeah, and they keep losing.
Who? Bianca.
I mean,
and
that's
Jade?
playing. No, I was saying because of the Battle Royals, they both got eliminated at the same time.
That's not like the only match they've lost. They haven't been pinned or submitted since they became a tag team.
I mean, no, they haven't been pinned or submitted. It's one of those things. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, I could do without the belt completely, to be honest with you. I don't know, And from what I was told, this is what their 18th belt they have.
Yeah, I think if you count everything with like the Speed title and the NXT championships, yeah, I think it's like
belts.
It's 18. We got that many belts.
18 belts. So let count them off. We got WWE Championship, World Heavyweight Championship, Women's World Heavyweight Championship, WWE Women's Championship, United States Championship, Intercontinental Championship, WWE Team Championships, World Tag Team Championships, NXT Championship, NXT North American Championship, NXT Women's Championship, NXT Women's North American Championship, Heritage Cup, that's also one, Speed title, and I only got 15, but I think
you got to 15.
WWE Women's Tag Team Championships and Women's United States Championship. That's 16. So I'm missing 2. I don't know which ones I'm missing.
Okay.
That's crazy.
That is a lot.
That's crazy. Oh.
The Crown Jewel Championships.
Well, that don't count because you know why? That stays in their country and it's in a freaking glass. That is the most stupidest shit. I know this happened last week. I know I didn't get to talk about it, but
yeah, I think that there's a certain website that SP3 knows about that they tried to make an article about like, oh, that Cody became like the first Rhodes to win like a international title, like. Bro, this fucking belt doesn't count. That's not an instant. Fuck that.
You make it a ring like it's the Super Bowl, like.
Yeah, if you keep it in fucking Saudi just to keep it there, then there ain't no fucking international title. That's a damn Saudi belt.
Hey, it's for them, but it can stay in their country. You can't even take it out. You got to have a ring because you can't take it out.
It's stupid. Like,
it is kind of stupid.
The whole thing is fucking dumb.
I sat here and I watched it. I was
like, the fact that people are trying to like use it as some kind of like thing, like I don't give a fuck that Cody Rhodes won it. Like it don't do nothing for me. Like I don't give a fuck.
It don't move you.
Like this, the belts. The idea was just fucking. I mean, it was a great match, but the idea is just.
The match was really good.
Like it's just the idea. It's just fucking stupid. They're trying to present it as some kind of like Super Bowl. It's like stop. Like we all know WrestleMania is still their biggest show. Like let's cut this bullshit out.
Well, that's what happens when you have a $50 million a year deal with Saudi Arabia.
This is very true. Very, very true.
I mean, it's true. I'm still gonna talk my shit either way.
Well, I know that. And you should.
Yeah. $50 million, $50 million, so I get it.
Well, we got a couple of comments as it regards to our question of the day of who is the most important member of the bloodline. You got Cyclops is better than Wolverine, who says Roman, none of this happens without him. I do understand Josh's argument of Roman Reigns because Roman is kind of like the figurehead. He's the figurehead of all of this. All of this wouldn't be coming to fruition without him in 2020. But like I said,
it's also different. It's different.
There was
Yeah, but it's different.
downslide before Sami came. So,
but it's also like a different kind of aspect, right? It's like when I'm talking about it, I'm talking about it as in like a more grand scheme of things, right? You're talking about it more story based because it was like, hey, there was a down period. There was kind of like that stagnant period with the Bloodline that it needed something, and Sami Zayn was that thing to like elevate it. Now we could even like give credit to The Rock, but at the same time, that's a little bit different because The Rock was only basically used for like the whole WrestleMania push. So that was kind of a different kind of thing. With Sami Zayn, he hit more angles and more stuff without that. Like they didn't need the whole thing to build up to like a mania for that. And then even the aspect of like the whole Elimination Chamber match where people actually thought, oh my God, Sami Zayn has a chance to win the titles. I mean, even to this day, I still think a lot of people are stupid. They actually thought that.
They really thought that was really happening.
No, but it meant something to people, right? And like that's what's more important, right? Like if you had people believing, then I guess you did your job. But if you really thought he was losing, if you thought Roman was losing before Mania, man, you easily fooled.
Very fooled.
Hey, they fooled me. They made me believe.
You damn sure switched your pick too. You damn sure had it. It was like
I stand on business. I'm not gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie to kick it. I don't need to lie.
Well, my condolences to that, because man.
Well, it didn't happen, but I still believe. They still got me. I gotta give them credit for that, and that's why I think Sami is number one. Sami is the most important member. Like he brings that emotion that not always there, or sometimes can feel like pantomiming, and like we're in a high school theater class with some of the Bloodline when they get too emotional.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean, because we have all those fucking marks that say cinema, and it's like, guys, it's not that serious. It was just a good angle, like that's what it was. But I do agree, like Sami does have he kind of elevates it with like humor and comedy, and sometimes it's like off script kind of stuff that actually makes it better. Because I know like on Raw, from what I know, like that was off script, like not off script, but like they didn't really use the script. They just used like whatever, I guess, like what was in their minds, and they ran with it.
Yeah. It was just Jey listening to the crowd. The crowd kept chanting Sami Uso, so he was like, all I see is family. All I see is Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Sami Uso, which got the big pop at the end of the segment.
Yep.
What do you think about an argument for Jey Uso, though, as the most important Bloodline member? Since, like you talked about earlier, Krssi Love, his popularity has kind of like soared, and you would consider him like the big breakout star, the guy that, of course, they kind of wrote the storyline in a way that helped Sami to be the first one to like break off, and at the honorary Hoos, he had like the spotlight on him, but Jey probably wasn't. It wasn't planned for him to be this popular. So
it really wasn't.
Very, very important to the Bloodline and what it's accomplished.
Well, I mean, it just shows like he just had to step up because his brother was a knucklehead. He got injured, and then he had other issues that he had to take care of. So someone had to step up and be there and be the face of the twins. And it just so happened that everyone seen something that was there. And it just made him very popular and just gravitates to all of the audience. Like he's a big baby face. Like once that whole Bloodline thing turned over, he became like a huge, that yeet foolishness became just like unstoppable. You know how I feel about
it? It has. It's like, well, I know. It's and I know that took a lot of you to even give him that compliment. But we got Call Me Mr. Vonda, who says there is no Bloodline without Roman's heel turn in 2020. This is true. This is a good interesting argument, because Paul Heyman has really kind of been like a narrator at times of this whole Bloodline saga from the very beginning.
He can't come back yet.
He needs to come back for War Games.
He needs to, like,
he could stay home for a little bit longer. Why are you hating on Paulie? No, I'm not hating. I'm just saying he can stay a bit
Yeah.
longer. They really don't need him right now. I think War Games is a good spot.
We got Power Driver Finisher who says most important member Roman 1, Sami 2, because it doesn't come to life without him. There we go. That is true.
Okay.
That's a good argument.
Fair.
Mr. Bonda says order Roman, Heyman, Jimmy, Jay, Jimmy, Sami. How you have Sami last? Really?
Damn, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
He put Jimmy before Sami. That even I know better.
Yes. Everyone knows Jimmy's like the
Jimmy's like Tito.
Yeah, you know what?
That's wrong. That's wrong. You're wrong for that. You're wrong for that.
Yeah. That one right there, bro.
Oh man, only a few people our age will understand that reference.
That is a fact.
But I mean, yeah, and there's also kind of the argument, like you said, for Paul Heyman being like the narrator and the glue of all of this. But then you brought up, Josh, The Rock. The Rock. How important is The Rock in this? Where would The Rock fit in if he's also included? And also Solo, because Solo is kind of a driving force of this kind of like
that's true.
Late chapters, because he comes in 2022. They kind of groom him under Roman Reigns for 2 years, and now he's the top heel. Probably it's him or Gunther for the top heel in the entire company right now.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that is a fact.
I think Solo I would put behind Jey in my ranking. I would put Solo behind Jey. The Rock. The Rock.
I think The Rock it's a different kind of. It's kind of weird with The Rock because I think he's kind of like in a different kind of like, you could say like section of it, just because like with The Rock, right? When The Rock came back, he made that shit like not even more important, but because of like the segments he had, like they were like must watch TV. So I think his is just is a unique situation because like we all know once he comes back, he's gonna elevate that storyline because again, we still don't know what The Rock is gonna do because he showed up at Bad Blood and then he looked in the ring and then he just like left. He did the motion, but nobody doesn't know what's that towards. And then he cut that little vague promo that was showed up on social media where he was like, what I saw out there was a bunch of bullshit. But again, we don't know what he's going about. So it's one of those things where when he comes back, he's gonna make it obviously more interesting again because it is The Rock. And you know, like of course his segments are gonna be the most viewed segments like on social media, on TV. So he brings it to a different kind of like situation where it's like because it's The Rock, it's gonna be more focused on it, but it's also gonna be great. So it's not like, oh yeah, he's just gonna show up and then, oh fuck, this segment suck ass. You know what I mean? Like it's a different kind of situation with The Rock. That's why it's a little weird. I'm like, if you're trying to rank it, it's like a little weird because I'm like, I think he's on the section on his own because of that.
That is a good point. I think that The Rock is more important to the Cody finishing his storyline more than the Bloodline storyline.
I would say that because Roman was so secondary in that shit. Like when the whole thing happened, regardless of what people want to say about Roman, he was like, there was like really, I want to say no focus on him, but he did feel super secondary. Like it kind of felt like it was at times The Rock versus Cody more than the Roman versus Cody.
100%, especially after the beating his ass in Chicago in the rain.
Yeah.
So especially after that.
Never forget that. But yeah, keep coming in the comment section. We want to hear what you think, think in the live chat, as well as in the comment section. Who do you think is the most important member of the Bloodline? We got Josh and Krssi think it's Roman Reigns. I think it's Sami Zayn, but what do you guys think? We got a couple of people who say Paul Heyman. Some people say Jey is the protagonist of the group, says Aubrey James. He says it started with him getting beat down by Roman Reigns. And he was basically a tag team wrestler. That's all his legacy would have been. This breakout really starts from the very beginning of Roman's run as the tribal chief and head of the table.
That's true.
We also got here Chuck Berries. He says, until The Rock faces Roman, I don't think that he should be included in this argument yet. That's fair. That's fair. And that's a good segue to our next topic, because we got to talk about the plans for WrestleMania 41, as that where most people believe will be the next time that we see The Rock wrestle. And a new report via WrestleVotes Radio Backstage Pass indicates that WWE is having discussions about the WWE WrestleMania 41 main events. If WWE decides to go with The Rock versus Roman Reigns as the main event of night 2 of WrestleMania 41 in 2025, Cody Rhodes will be featured in the alternate main event for night 1. And that night 1 would be very heavy Cody Rhodes. Now, we've talked about it for a number of weeks, ever since Bad Blood, when The Rock made his return at the end of the show, that we have thought, me and Josh especially, kind of have thought that the best option for WrestleMania 41's main event is Rock, Roman, and Cody in a 3-way matchup. But it's seeing more and more talks is that The Rock versus Roman Reigns is the matchup that a lot of people think The Rock will choose to have and WWE will choose to have as the night 2 main event. Now, if Cody gets bumped to night 1, WrestleVotes Radio says that his possible opponent would be Randy Orton in the payoff of the teases that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. The Rock also talked about his future in WWE recently. The Final Boss says he's taking every opportunity he gets to return to WWE. He spoke with LAD Bible, and he said on his future with WWE, any opportunity I can to go back and not only make appearances, but help to expand the company, whether domestically or globally, I always go back. It's also part of my obligation that I happily do. On joining TKO board of directors, he says, I came along in the 90s and wrestled for Vince into the 2000s. So there's some real connective tissue that goes back generations. And for that, I will forever be grateful, because it provided me a platform and a way to express myself in ways that nothing else would allow, other than acting. So the opportunity for me to go to become a director, sit on the board and take that position is just another way that I can help the company grow. Miss Krssi Love, what do you think about the WrestleMania 41 conversation? And do you think that WWE would be making the right choice overall for going with Rock and Roman instead of a 3-way or Rock versus Cody?
I guess if you don't do it now, it'll get stale. Because it's kind of like foreshadowing, like he kind of like is a story that can be put, again, you came last year, you took most of the shine from me, and I was the one that was the champion. I was the one that was wrestling. So you have a story that can be told. And I think if they keep pushing it back, it's going to get, people are going to go regardless. But I think the story, if you're telling it story-wise, it's going to get like a little stale.
That is fair. That is fair. I when I heard the news, we heard it during AE Ramble this week, and I immediately had a sympathy come over me, because I was just like, oh, poor Cody. If that happens, Cody got bumped from the night 2 main event. That means that CM Punk is not getting his main event on night 1. That means that we go another year of the women not getting the main event on night 1. All because The Rock and Roman don't want to wait till 42? Like, I thought he told me long game.
All right, fine.
Long game. And you gotta think about Cody, because WrestleVotes also said that they have no plans, WWE right now, of taking the WWE Championship off of Cody. So you're really kind of undermining not only Cody, but the WWE Championship by having it be the alternate main event and not the night 2 main event.
Okay, that's fair. That makes sense. I didn't look at it that way. I guess it is. But okay, who do y'all want to see CM Punk's main event? So yes, no.
No, question. I want the women.
Okay, so then there we go. So I don't even know why you even brought up CM Punk in the first place.
Because it's not just the women that it's also Punk, because Punk thought he was coming back to a WrestleMania main event, and then he got injured at the Royal Rumble.
I don't think the women will main event because there's no credible story for them to main event.
Who, Punk and Seth?
No, I said that I don't think the women can main event because there's no credible story for them to main event. There's nothing right now that say there's nothing happening with the women. I'm being honest, and I love the. I'm just being honest. There's no story credible right now to have them say, let's let these. There's no girls that are really cooking right now for them to main event anything.
And we literally, I think a large part of why our podcast last week went 3 hours and 45 minutes is because we talked like an hour about the issues with the women's division coming off of that Nia Jax versus Liv Morgan matchup at Crown Jewel, which
was very.
It was awful.
It was sloppy. It was. First of all, they came. They had to go behind Roman and them. Right, I think that's what they were. They came. It was number 2 or it was 3.
They were. I think they were a 4th match on the show.
It's even worse.
They're like they're like the 4th matchup.
It's even worse.
The tag women's match was actually entertaining compared to and
the
they were
girls,
behind. They were behind.
Was way better, and it had more girls in it than the 2 champions, and that's saying a lot.
It just wasn't booked
really,
well. Like they went like 4 minutes, and then everybody started coming out the interference and shenanigans. It was just like, this is 2 acts that are growing to be stale to me, and they're coming into one matchup. Nia with Tiffany keep trying to cash in. They've done on 3 straight pay-per-views.
It's stupid. Stop.
With
I wish
Liv,
they stopped.
with Liv and Dom interfering, we're going on 6 months of that.
And if Raquel don't know her cues by now, I don't know what's happening. Like, she keep missing them. Missing them badly.
Just a little bit. That is
like,
true.
You've been going that long
is
since
true.
you don't know when your cues are to come in to do a whole interference? Like, we need to figure this out. It's really sad. Like, again, the girls are definitely not main eventing. I'm sorry. I don't see a credible storyline to get us to April from now. I don't see it. I'm sorry. And again, with Rhea injured, who knows? Charlotte's still not back. You don't like what are we doing? Let's just be honest. Like, if you guys put more, like, they put more emphasis on the girls that's on NXT than the main roster. I'm sorry.
Just call Rebecca Quinn, and then everything will be figured out.
Yeah, we talked about that last week, that they probably blowing up Rebecca Quinn and Charlotte Flair as much as anybody right now to fill these gaps with Rhea being out.
You think so?
Yeah.
They
need them.
And Rebecca and
They
Ashley
really
do not
need
want to be
them.
bothered right now. Just saying.
I love you're on a first name basis now.
We're on a first name basis right now. I mean, you said Rebecca, so I'm gonna call the other girl Ashley, like that's their names. But no, I mean, like they are not even. I think they're not even interested in coming back no time soon. That's the fucking funny part about it all.
I think Charlotte is.
Charlotte
is more so because she is like, she's been rehabbing, and she's been like, she's actually intense, like her workout load, because like this is around the time where she do like heavier stuff in gym, because she tore 2 muscles. I thought it was just the ACL, but then I found out it was actually 2 muscles. I think it was the meniscus and the ACL.
Her good time.
So that's
not trying to mess it up. So I think that's.
But not only that, but like the two muscles she tore was like the worst muscles you could tear in your knee. So that's why it's taking her longer. So I think she's trying to come back sooner compared to like Becky. Becky's not. Obviously she's not rushing. Whatever she's doing, she's very content. And then who even knows that she is going to come back? She's probably going to be content of retiring. So, right? That's how I see it.
I think she's loving this whole, like, not being worried, the whole traveling. Like, when they said they went to Saudi Arabia, then they went to London, they went all this. I was like, they don't get a break. And then they was back in the States on Monday.
Yep.
I know they sleep schedules is shit right now.
They're struggling. They're struggling.
Yeah, and it shows in the product.
Yeah. And it's also usually a little bit different for like certain women, because like once they become mothers, their whole life kind of, not only like your life changes, but sometimes your aspects of like what you wanted in the future, a lot of things change.
Bliss ain't come back.
And I think part of it, and I
come back, like,
yeah, like, you know, and a lot of it,
all,
you know. So I mean, it happens, you know. Like I remember Dark Judah was like that at one point, where, you know, he didn't have a family during his playing career, and then once he had his family, he kind of saw like, once Jeter had his family, you know, his whole perspective changed on a lot of things. So I think she's probably in that situation where things are changing.
Well, we got a question here for Josh from the King Ellie Show. Thank you so much, King Ellie Show, with the super chat donation. He asks, Josh, are you nervous Cody will not be main eventing night 2 of WrestleMania? Yeah, I wanted to ask you that. How do you feel? Because someone who's had a well-known rivalry with Cody Rhodes, especially on this show and this channel for years, even I felt a bit of sympathy because I'm like, if WWE is so committed, because we got both of these reports on the same podcast of they love Cody, they view him as a John Cena of the company, and they have no intentions of him losing the WWE Championship anytime soon. To then have also said, oh, but they might be having Rock and Roman as the night 2 main event, and night 1 is going to be built around Cody. Night 1 is the consolation prize. I'm sorry. To WrestleMania, there's only one real main event to me. It's nice for people to get main events on their resume because they're on the night 1 main event. Maybe Bianca Belair and Mercedes Moné don't accomplish what they accomplished without a 2-night WrestleMania in 2021. But let's be real. The main event in WWE eyes is the one that closed night 2. So if Cody doesn't close night 2, what does that say of how WWE views him? They view him as a workhorse champion, but I don't think they view him as the number 1 guy if he's not in that main event.
That's how they view Seth, huh? Seth has always been a guy, but he's always been number 3. Yep. Every time someone else comes back, he gets pushed down the total. He gets pushed back down. Yeah, I'm sad. I'm afraid for Cody. Cody is the one that's losing in all. And he's the champion. Yeah. And everyone wants to see Cody. They want to say,
he's the draw. He's proven himself.
They want to see what robe he's going to have on, what entrance he's going to do.
So first of all, I want to say thank you for this guy for the $5. The second, this was a pretty bad question. Because why the hell would I be nervous about it? Why would I be nervous? It's like with WWE, like I expect shit like this. So it's like I'm not even like surprised with it. Like, I don't know. Like if it happens, it happens. It's not gonna make me not be a fan of Cody. So it doesn't really affect me in that aspect. So that's why I said that.
That's fair.
I don't know. Like, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, Cody knows what he signed up for when he re-signed with WWE. And if The Rock is involved, I mean, hey, he's the TKO board member. He's gonna throw his weight around.
And wouldn't you?
I mean, he's gone to he's got in that position for a reason. So I mean, it is what it is. But to say it nervous, I'm not. I really don't give a fuck. Like when it comes to stuff like that. Now, like if they was to take off the belt off of him, then that's a different story. Because like when this past WrestleMania, the reason why I had an issue with it was because you had the man win the Royal Rumble, and then you try to make him look like a fucking clown the same week, saying like, "Oh no, I want to face you for the title at Mania, but it's not going to be this WrestleMania. It's not going to happen at this WrestleMania." And then you had like The Rock come out, like that was just like storyline wise, he just looked like a bitch when you did that, and I thought it was just stupid. So that's why when it came to that, like that was more of an issue compared to like this. He already had the championship, so no matter where he goes, it's like it's not gonna really affect me. If he main events night 1, I mean, you do need something for night 1 because this year's night 1 wasn't as good as night 2. So maybe that does help the card when it comes to that. When it comes to that, but it doesn't really affect me when it comes to that. Now, like, do I prefer a triple threat match? I do like the idea of a triple threat match more than like.
Okay, so how do we execute the triple threat match now?
You have Roman win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, you have one of them win the Royal Rumble, and then The Rock. Yeah, like The Rock implements himself, but this time The Rock has a fair argument. Why? Because he pinned Cody last year, this past WrestleMania. So there's a story there. There's still a story that you could because The Rock.
I didn't even think about the Roman coming in at number 30.
Oh no, The Rock.
No, I don't see him winning the Rumble.
Who, Roman?
I don't see him. No, I don't see him winning. I thought you said Rock. I'm sorry.
No, I said have Roman come in at number 30. I wouldn't even tell nobody their number. Don't give us the whole foolishness of telling people the fucking numbers. Like, just let them know that you're gonna enter in the fucking Royal Rumble. I don't even like. Don't do that. Like, but they've been ruining it like lately. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't let nobody.
They don't tell us the numbers all the time. Sometimes they tell us who's number 1, but they don't like tell you who's number like 15 or 30 all the time.
Yeah. So like even with that, because even with The Rock being heel, anything he does makes sense more because he's a heel. The reason why this past year didn't make any sense because The Rock was a super over babyface that people cheered for, and then the kind of move that he did just makes him look like a dick, and that's why he turned heel because of that. But this coming Mania, I mean, there's more story there. Like you could pass on because he did pin Cody, and you know that's his main argument he could use. Like, and he's been mentioning that. Like maybe even in his last promo before he left, he mentioned that like how he beat Cody. So there's a story there that you could still go around. I mean, if they do The Rock and Roman, just them two. I don't know. Right now, it's not as hot as it was like maybe 2 years ago when people really wanted it. But because of the stories that they've been doing, it's kind of like, do we really need it now, or do we really want it at this point? I think it's more of like a Roman and Rock thing. I think that's what they want more so now. And if that's what they go with, that's what they go with. It is what it is. That's how I like. Again, it's not going to affect me either way because I'm going to watch both shows. So I mean, the fuck I'm going to do? Be angry and then watch, like hate watch?
You could protest.
I could protest. Yeah, I could protest, but me protesting would be not watching, and I'm just not going to do that because I want to be on the reviews and want to give my takes on it. So, yeah, that's not happening at all.
Well, that's a good point from Dion Jenkins, who says John Cena was the number 1 guy, and he didn't even main event every Mania. But when he was the number 1 guy, what? Okay, 2006 he main event. 2007 he main event. 2008, the only reason he didn't main event is because they didn't think he was coming back that early. He came back as a surprise at the Royal Rumble, so that's why he didn't main event then. 2009, okay, yeah, he didn't main event that one, and he probably should, but Orton was the hot angle going into WrestleMania 25, so that's understandable. 26 was a special circumstance because it's Shawn Michaels' retirement, or supposed to be a retirement, versus the Undertaker's undefeated streak. Then he main events WrestleMania 27, main events WrestleMania 28, main events WrestleMania 29. You have to main event more. He main evented the first one when he's the WWE champion. So it's nice to say, oh, he didn't main event every WrestleMania. He main evented the first one though. Like
so
after he wins the title.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So the first, as he is the champion, they don't have any plans of taking it off of him. He needs to main event at least one of these nights.
Yeah.
Okay, so we main event night 1. No, night 2, of course. You have to do night 2. Night 2, because that's the better of the nights.
But I don't think if Cody's not involved with Rock and Roman, he's not main event in night 2.
And even I said that weeks ago.
You did say that. That's true. I don't know, SP. I don't know how we can get. We got a couple of months to get us there.
Yeah. They could figure it out as it comes along, but they have 3 strong options within those 3 guys.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I think it's fair. I mean, it's a good thing. I think it's a good headache for WWE to have because they do have options. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it's a quote unquote bad thing. I think it really benefits them a lot because again, when you have a 2-night WrestleMania. And you have 2 strong main events, that helps either way. So it's it's not really a lost cause. Like it's really, at least to it's not really a big deal. Like it's really not that big of a deal. Like at least to like, I mean, hey, like
but will it be bad for like the women? The women, like I'm saying, like
oh no, that would be bad for
how many years has it been now? It's been since WrestleMania 37.
Yeah,
it would be bad for the women. Like it definitely wouldn't help the women.
And it's probably not. It's probably gonna keep doing that probably for another 10 years. I promise you.
Yeah, and honestly, it's just yeah,
Being
you know,
honest.
and I,
The girls,
yeah, and then
the girls
yeah,
have
I mean,
been getting this shit into the stick for a long time. So
yeah, and you know, and I get the aspect, right? I get like the whole women, like, because that is, you know, that's a legit argument to have. It's just right now, even when you look at the grand scheme of things, like what storyline would they even have that could be so compelling that's gonna have one like a main event for the women, either not. I mean, like night one. It's really not. They really don't have
I mean,
any strong
Cody
options.
and Randy is not
And then
a bad idea.
the strongest options they do have, they're in NXT. So, yeah.
That's
Okay.
fair. Like I said, I thought that the Cody Randy, if you're not going to have Cody in the night 2 main event, if it's going to be a night 1 main event, then yeah, him and Randy is a good option to have.
I think it's a good option. Yeah.
But I
option
also think Seth and Punk is. If Seth and Punk has the World Heavyweight Championship,
and they have the title, yeah. So I mean, again,
you take it off. You take it off Gunther and give it to
Punk.
Who?
Punk.
When do we do this? Because we haven't seen Punk in like weeks now. Him nor Drew McIntyre.
I think the report months ago was that it was supposed to be at Survivor Series. Well, Survivor Series 3 weeks away, so they better get on the ball like this Monday.
Listen.
Yeah, and I think that's why Damian is the number 1 contender, because I don't think they probably did have a place for Punk, but because Punk being old and fragile, he's probably still injured from Hell in a Cell, so he's probably not ready.
Or they just save it for the Royal Rumble. Why you got to talk about the man like that? Like,
I mean, I'm not lying.
Dion Jenkins says if they don't do Rock and Roman this year, just don't bother doing it. It should have happened at WrestleMania 39. It doesn't need to be dragged out any longer. That's also a good point. So
that's where I'm at. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. It's like maybe they should have done it then, but you know, obviously there's obvious reasons why it didn't happen at 39, and The Rock won't admit it to it, but we kind of know why, Vince. But yeah,
could happen, but we shall see. We'll be talking more about it, like I say every week, about this drama with the WrestleMania 41 main event and what it should be and what it will be come in April. But we got some more news to discuss that also kind of includes the Bloodline, as well as Fightful Select reports that WWE executive Bruce Pritchard and Michael Hayes are currently on temporary leave. Hayes is said to be on personal leave at the moment for personal reasons, and it's also stated that he hasn't been backstage in WWE in recent weeks. Meanwhile, Pritchard has been absent recently for family reasons. Both of them are reportedly expected to be back with WWE later, and the report also notes that neither of their absences are related to the former WWE chairman, Vince McMahon. Fightful Select reports that Michael Hayes has been taking time off from WWE, and someone else has been producing Bloodline segments in his absence. With Hayes gone, Jamie Noble has instead been producing Bloodline segments and matches, and this includes several tag team title matches, which began before Hayes took a break. Noble produced the 6-man tag team matchup that happened at WWE Crown Jewel last Saturday, and Jey Uso segment on the Raw before Crown Jewel. It's believed that Hayes will return and only took time off for personal reasons. Hayes has been producing the Bloodline segments with Bobby Roode for months, and another producer that had been shadowing him. That will likely continue as Roode's work has been praised in both producing and working as an agent. Hayes previously produced nearly all of the Bloodline segments in recent years, as well as talent who worked with Roman Reigns or were preparing to do so. As for Roode, he recently noted in an interview that he was cleared to wrestle, but he's not planning for an in-ring return at this time. He has, however, helped The Rock and others prepare for in-ring returns, and Roode worked alone on Gunther versus Cody Rhodes at Crown Jewel, but worked with Noble on the Bloodline versus Reigns and Rhodes matchup at WWE Bad Blood. So little switch up there. Michael PSA is another person you could put in that debate of who's important to the Bloodline storyline, because he's worked with them so often backstage.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, I know that something is going on Michael Hayes because he technically was supposed to appear yesterday at a big event, and his appearance got canceled earlier this week. So I know there's something is going on. We just don't know, but yeah, like I was aware about that as well.
Interesting. We shall keep on that, keep on top of that. But also Goldberg is back in the news, as we talked about last week. He made the announcement of his retirement match that will happen in WWE next year. Goldberg's retirement match is not expected to take place at WrestleMania, though. It's been widely speculated that Gunther would be his opponent based on how WWE has been setting things up with Gunther insulting Goldberg at Bad Blood. It was noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that Gunther is Goldberg's most likely opponent for his retirement match. According to sources in the company, the match will not take place at WrestleMania 41. No word which pay-per-view will actually host the matchup, and WWE has yet to confirm Goldberg's opponent at this time. So do you guys think it should be Gunther, and where should it happen? If it's not going to happen at WrestleMania, where do they book Goldberg's retirement match? Krssi?
SummerSlam, maybe?
That's a good shout.
If we don't do it at Mania, because we're going to saturate Mania with a whole bunch of other things, maybe for him to get a little shine should be at, since we have 2 nights for SummerSlam, we can do it with that.
Reason that's a good shout is because they probably don't want to do it at SummerSlam because they want all the attention on it being John Cena's last WrestleMania instead of someone else also having a retirement match.
I forgot all about that. Damn.
How could you forget about John Cena?
I mean, that's the one that I really care about more than the others. But, yeah.
Oh, well, to be fair. I was actually asked that. I did interview this week with the Black Announce Table podcast. Shout out to those guys. And they tried to pose the argument for my Sports Illustrated top 20 greatest WWE wrestlers list that John Cena should have been number 1 because of the longevity and being the number 1 guy on top for as long as he was.
And what number did you place him at?
4.
And who was number 1?
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Right answer. Good answer. I would do that. Yep.
So I did say because they said, would I do the list again in 5-6 years? And I was like, yeah, probably that's a good idea because it can develop. There was like, okay, when will John Cena be then? I was like, he could possibly be 2 because Terrence from Florida does no favors for his legacy, so he'll probably ruin it in the next couple of years.
Terrence from Florida has ruined his legacy, like ruined it. Like it's so sad. Like I had to tell someone about that. It's
not
like,
sad to me. It's satisfying. It's satisfying.
It's satisfying. Right. That part.
Terrence from Florida. Agreed. Nah, but shout out to those guys. I had a lot of fun. They were dissing my list the week prior. I actually watched a little bit of it. They was like, yeah, Sports Illustrated wrote this. It was written by 5 people.
Wasn't there a basketball player that kind of like complained about it too? Like, wasn't there a basketball player?
Jeff Teague.
Really?
Jeff Teague on his podcast. He complained about it. The Black Announce Table podcast were like, oh, if 5 people from Sports Illustrated wrote this, 4.5 of them were white. So I had to throw that diss back at them when I did the interview.
Wait, what? So they said, oh, damn. They said, oh.
I was like, apparently I'm 5 people, but I am fully black. I am not 4.5 a white.
That's also very true, yep.
I mean, the list is fair. Like, if we're being real about it, I thought, when I saw it, I was like, even though I don't like Terrence from Florida, I'm like, there's a lot of things that happen without him in WWE when they were WWF. So regardless of how I feel about him, that is true. Like, I can't really. There's not really a real argument I could counter with that. Stone Cold, it's a good one being number 1 because what a lot of people don't understand is like the fucking peak of his popularity in WWE was because of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like where WWE was at that time to like where it got to, most of it had to do with Stone Cold. And you could say a fair argument, The Rock too, but Stone Cold was the catalyst of like once he had that face turn, I mean, the company completely turned it around. Like that's a fair argument when it comes to Stone Cold and his pop. Even to this day, he's still Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like he has not changed at all.
He's not changed. He's still that same guy. They still say Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Like the first 4 people that I put on the list, I knew from jump when I was given that assignment that was going to be the top 4. I was like, that's really the Mount Rushmore for me for WWE. It's Austin, Hogan. It's Austin, Hogan, Rock, Cena.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair because even with the Rock being number 3, you understand why he's number 3. And if you really think about it, his WWE career wasn't that long. He didn't wrestle his prime. He did not wrestle not even 10 years. I think even less than 7.
It was 6 full time, and then you can count basically what he did in 2003, 2004, 2012, or 2011 through 2013. That's like 1 full year, the amount of days that he wrestled and appeared. That's like 1 year. So you could add another year to that, being like 7 years. And then
he was kind of because even his career, like he wasn't like Macho Man's wrestling career. Macho Man didn't have a long wrestling career. A lot of people forget that too. Like as popular as Macho Man is, he didn't have.
Than you can say about the other jerk. Just saying,
Macho was number 11. Macho was number 11 for me.
Listen,
I think that's fair. Number 11 is fair.
I would. That's a great number for him. And listen, whose promos do people go look at more often? Macho Man.
Yeah, of course.
So
Macho's one of the all-time greats.
Well, Macho Man, because Macho Man was more of like a character. His in-ring stuff wasn't bad at all. But I think what people remember from Macho Man is his character and how like colorful he was when it comes to stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like he got over because of his gimmick. That's why he got over. And I mean, that's a good thing, right? That's what they wanted in wrestling. Hey, wrestling is about characters and all this stuff. He's one of the prime examples of that.
Yeah.
And yes, the Power Drive finisher is right. He said the same white folks who loved Hogan still do. He ain't ruined much, in my opinion. That's fair. That's fair.
Especially after this week.
Yep. He was like, he's looking right now. But WWE had some other news. Oh, but let me ask, who do y'all think? So you say SummerSlam, Miss Krssi Love. Josh, what do you think Goldberg should have his retirement match?
I wouldn't be opposed to SummerSlam. I think if you do Gunther versus Goldberg, I don't think the title should be involved.
We don't need it
because we really don't need it. And Goldberg, I don't want to have another title match for Goldberg. So it's like, bro, you really don't need it. But then also, if there's a retirement match, just focus on that. Like, make it like a spectacle, like whatever you. But then also, if you do that SummerSlam, you kind of take away, like you said, from WrestleMania. Like, oh yeah, John Cena's last WrestleMania. Then you have that. It kind of gets diluted. And then guess what? You're gonna have Goldberg complain about it on another interview. I don't want to deal with that. Just do it at SummerSlam. You can do it one of the nights, right? And SummerSlam is a 2-night event. You can do it one of those SummerSlams. So, and then they need something. It gives Goldberg time to prep and to train, because right now, if he was to train for WrestleMania, it won't be good for him, because usually when you start training again in the ring, the reps and all that stuff, it takes about 4 to 6 months, and he's not going to be ready by then. I mean, he's going to do it because obviously he wants to check, but if he wants like a proper training, or to look good. I think it gives some time for SummerSlam, but then also, again, the focus will be more on that. He'll get like his own spotlight. And also, again, it doesn't need to be for a title, because we've seen how many times Goldberg wrestling is always for the title. Like his last match was for the title, like when he wrestled Roman Reigns, and that was an awful match. No fault to Roman Reigns at all, by the way. It was god awful, but it's just, again, how many times we've seen Goldberg come back and he's in a title match. He faced the Fiend, title match, and he won it. the no crowd WrestleMania title match because he had the belt. We really don't need to see that. If you want to make a real retirement match, none of that shit needs to be involved.
Okay, fair.
I think Mr. Bonda's onto something as well. I could see his last match being in Saudi Arabia. Get the biggest payday possible.
Yeah, I think
I wouldn't be mad at that because
that's a good option.
They'll give him the money.
That's a good option, but I also would leave it up to Goldberg. Like, hey, Goldberg, where do you want to do it at? Like, where do you want to do it? And I think he wants to do it. Maybe they find a place in Georgia, right? Because that's where he's from.
Yeah,
and they do it like
do
in
the Georgia
Dome.
Do the Georgia Dome for a B paper.
Okay, that's fair. And all his family be out there to see him lose. Great.
That's so mean. You're so mean, Krssi Love.
When you retire, no one wins. Who we fooling?
I mean, Sting won.
Sting won.
That's AEW, friends. Stop it.
Brian won when he was supposed to retire at All In. He won.
Again, different company, friends. Stop. Hello.
She's like, no. I mean, Taker won. He won a WWE. He won his match.
Boneyard match. He won. See, thank you, Josh. We worked together on that one.
That was pre-recorded.
AJ was gonna put him over because AJ said it himself. He wanted to be the guy to put Taker over. So even if they did that match in front of a crowd,
Boneyard match was very
AJ
good,
was losing. Yeah, AJ was losing no matter what because I think AJ wanted that for Goldberg. I mean, for Taker.
It was good for him to put him over that way anyway. So it made AJ look good anyway. So
there you go.
Regardless, we ain't seen him ever since. Damn.
Speaking of events, WWE is set to return to Toronto for Elimination Chamber 2025 in March. The company announced on Friday that the pay-per-view will take place on March 1st, 2025 at the Rogers Centre in the Ontario capital. Speaking of events, they also announced that this past weekend, WWE announced a massive tour across Europe that will take place in March 2025 in the lead up to WrestleMania 41. This includes multiple TV dates for Raw and SmackDown overseas in Europe, along with Road to WrestleMania live events. The schedule is going to see Friday Night SmackDown from Barcelona, Spain on March 14th. They do a live event in Germany on March 15th, Sunday in Hanover, Germany. Monday, March 17th will be in Brussels, Belgium for Monday Night Raw. You then got Friday, March 31st. SmackDown will take place in Italy. You also got a Saturday live event that will take place in Belfast, Northern Ireland, and then the next night in Nottingham, England. Then Monday Night Raw from Glasgow, Scotland will take place on March 24th. Friday Night SmackDown, March 28th from London, England. They do a Saturday event that weekend in Vienna, Austria. And then Sunday, they will be in Amsterdam. And then they finish off the tour Monday, March 31st, Monday Night Raw from London, England. And WrestleVotes also had a backup report to that saying that with the move to Netflix, it will be available live in the afternoon on Mondays and Fridays on Mondays for Monday Night Raw when it's in London, England, and when it's overseas in Europe, because Netflix will air it live not only for the overseas audience, but also available for the US audience as well. So you can watch it live if you want to watch it live in the afternoon on a Monday while you're at work.
We'll see.
Hey, I'm gonna be watching it. Then I can get the review in early. I can get the review in to premiere when it goes live for people in the US. When people want to watch in the US, there you go.
That's true. Yeah.
Technically, it won't even be live for them because they came on at 12 o'clock. So
true. But maybe people are victims of tradition and ritual, so they just want to watch it at 8 p.m. on a Monday.
No, I'm gonna watch
because
it
they're at work.
So I ain't gotta watch it later that evening.
Also true.
I mean, WrestleVotes better be hopeful they're right about this, because that Lucha Bro news that they broke didn't go very well for them. So hopefully,
hey. That's on the Lucha Bros. That ain't on WrestleVotes. Shout out to WrestleVotes. That's on them.
No. That's on them too. That's on them too.
Nope. You better snitch. That's your job.
I'm holding it.
Reporter. Under the reporter.
No. I mean, as in not the snitching part. No, not the snitching part. It's not so much the snitching part. It was the whole mask thing that I'm talking about. Oh, they're producing rats.
Hey, that the Lucha Bros told him that, or someone close to the Lucha Bros told him that. That's it, you know. Hey, they getting everybody else in trouble. They ain't in trouble. That
I'm
was
like,
a good day for them, probably.
They should have done their homework before that. Because man,
that's a good day for them. That's a good day.
All I'm saying, that was FRS, man. If that was FRS, man, he would have been crucified. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, it helps that WrestleVotes don't put their face out when they do these type of shows.
It's true.
just a little picture. That's all you see. That's all you know of WrestleVotes. You know that he's.
That is true. That I give them credit for that.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the last WWE show from this week. WWE NXT 2300 from the former ECW Arena. It was on a Wednesday night, not a Tuesday night. And the show did 619,000 viewers. The show featured Jada Parker defeating Lola Vice in a hard-hitting, hardcore opener, picking up the win with Dawn Marie as special guest referee. You had Javon Evans beat Wes Lee in a fun matchup with RVD's involvement, distracting Wes Lee so Javon can get the victory. Ridge Holland and Ethan Page defeated Trick Williams and Bubba Ray Dudley. However, Trick and Bubba got the last laugh after Devon Dudley came out to give them a table to put All Ego through. Tony D'Angelo beat Nunzio, a.k.a. Little Guido, to retain the NXT North American Championship, while Zaria, Jordan Grace, Kalani Jordan, Julia, and Stephanie Vaquer won the awesome 10-woman tag team main event against Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, and Fatal Influence. It was an awesome matchup. Definitely worth going out of your way to see. What did you think about the ECW vibes from the show and the fact we'll get more in depth with it when we talk about Dynamite, but going on Wednesday, their audience went up with the ECW kind of reunion show that they did. But what did you think overall, Miss Krssi Love?
I was watching both shows, and NXT did good. It was a great feeling to be in the arena. I think they did. They had good matches. They had a good, solid show. I feel like.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. We did the review for both shows on Thursday. And I gave both shows 7.5. I thought that this was a much better even kind of play with both shows as far as quality rise,
right?
Because it felt more vibrant with that crowd in South Philly for NXT here. It made it feel like old NXT.
Right. Because again, it's been, I guess because they've been stuck in the performance center, and the way they have the layout now is like it's just like. Ugh. So the whole change up of the arena and like the people and the formatting and sitting, it definitely gave a better old school feeling.
Yeah.
Gave what you the about you? Black and yellow vibes.
True. What about you, Josh?
I mean, it was cool. It was cool to see some of the old ECW people. I mean, again, I just thought the whole reunion kind of aspect of it was kind of bullshit. Because we all know why they did it. They didn't do it because they cared about ECW. It is what it is. I'm happy that RVD got his payday. He really didn't. He didn't do shit, but it was cool to know that he's about his money.
For no reason, because he didn't get in the ring to do nothing.
And Javon Evans. I mean, hey, I give credit to the kid because he tried that ugly ass frog splash. Because that wasn't no damn frog splash, but he tried and he got like really high, but.
He didn't execute the ending.
I think people are giving the kid way too much credit.
Putting it out,
They're giving way too much credit to the kid because I'm just like, yeah, it was impressive, like what he attempted, but I'm like, he still ain't landed. Regardless of people want to say, because if somebody else did that shit, nobody, everybody would be bitching. But good effort. I mean, it was a nice effort. I think the kid has he has potential. I just think he needs to clean up a little bit of his work when it comes to certain things. We kind of saw with Randy Orton. We kind of saw that finish with Randy Orton. So, I mean, like he's young. He's like, what, 22, 23, right? Or younger than that. So he'll get there. So I'm not really So they have something there. Hopefully they build off of.
It just needs to
him.
be molded a little bit. He's on how long he's been there
Yeah.
for? A couple of
Yeah, I
months.
mean, and then Bubba Ray, like, I mean, fuck Bubba Ray. I didn't give a fuck about that. Like, I think it was more unfortunate that I see people talk about that shit more than like the main event. Like, at least to me, like I saw it on Twitter, I was like, what the fuck, guys? Like, where was your main event? Why nobody talking about this? Because I felt like that kind of showcased the new signings, like, right? That's what they wanted. And this girl looks like a badass. Like, again, I was never familiar with her work. What's her new name in NXT? Delta? What's her new name? Zarya. Like, you know, like,
Her makeup look badass.
Yeah, like no, like she looks good. Like for somebody,
they look like superheroes together. The baby faces on that.
They
team.
did.
Yeah,
like,
I like the NXT Avengers.
Yeah, like that's how honestly that's how they did. Look, they had Jordan Grace there too. Like what the fuck? The only weak one probably was maybe Kalani Jordan because.
But you need the naive.
Yeah, you do need
the young.
You like Miss Marvel.
Yeah, yes.
No,
She's
like Hawkeye. That's okay. Like she could be like Hawkeye.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that, Skip.
That's fine.
No, she's just really nice.
Fine with
Hawkeye
that.
was never that nice. She's like Miss Marvel is a good comparison.
I'll stick with Hawkeye. I'm okay with that. But everybody else, I mean, like she looks like again, she looks like a badass because I was never familiar with her work, and I kind of like sometimes going into an open mind with like, all right, they're making this a big deal. I want to see what I want to see for myself. What's the big deal about her? And so far, I mean, she does that nice F5, like for somebody her size, like she looks good. I like that signing. She looks like a badass. But overall, I mean, again, it was a glorified nostalgia show. That's really what it was.
Glorified nostalgia show.
I mean, hey, it worked for them, right? It worked for them. So it's like it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Again, like seeing Rhino was cool. Like, he got payday too. So again, I'm not mad about it. They got paid.
Sabu,
I'm all for that.
No, Sabu be getting high too much.
No, Sandman, no. You cannot. Sandman,
No. She said Sabu. She said Sabu.
I said both Sabu and Sandman.
Well, both. Yeah, she said both.
Sandman get drunk and he do cocaine.
Yeah, right now Sandman has been a hazard for a while. Like the last few months, he's been like.
So you guys need to just like knock. Okay.
No, I'm saying he is. No, I'm saying that in a legit way. Like as in like, I've been hearing things about Sandman that I'm like, yeah, I know why he wasn't booked for this show. It's not a good thing, unfortunately for him.
You can't be getting niggas on a binger. Like, what we doing? You can't do that. Like, no. You got to give him, a full rehab treatment. WWE don't got that type of money. I like Sandman. Sandman cleaned up his life a lot. I can't make fun of him too much, but I'm just saying. I understood all the people that they got here. I just didn't understand why RVD didn't do more. Like they got him dressed in his attire, only for him to do nothing. They didn't even do a real attack on him. They knocked down the cameraman, and then Wesley obviously hitting the floor a bunch of times. Like the way they did that attack was stupid.
It's very stupid.
But you know what? You know what it is too. And I absolutely love Rob Van Dam, and I think he's one of the greatest of all time. I don't think he gets enough credit for all the stuff that he's done in wrestling and even outside of wrestling. But sometimes when a man is not motivated, he shows when he's not motivated. And the NXT stuff did not seem like he was motivated, at least to me. And this is a track record of him. Like when I see it, like there's some indie shows where when he gets paid, he's gonna work his ass off. When he doesn't get his money, he's gonna take a step back. And I've seen that from RVD. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. It is what it is. He's a legend. He's put in time into his career. So I mean, if I was in his shoes, I probably get it, because I'm like, if you're not gonna really do much, you're not gonna put effort in, and you kind of saw that with his appearance. Like he's not gonna do nothing, so it's not gonna give a shit that much.
Fair.
We got
That's fair.
Got Frantic World that says AEW would take a risk on Sandman and Sabu. WWE will pass on them.
Not with Sandman.
They did take a risk on Sabu, and you see how that worked out.
Yeah, Sabu, yeah. Not Sandman. Sandman, he's again, he's kind of not in a good spot right now. That's all I gotta say.
But yes, we'll talk more about NXT this week as well as how they matched up with AEW shortly here. But there was more news from WWE as this was the first week that they started announcing WWE ID contracted talent. The first WWE ID prospect was announced as Zeta Steel, who was recruited from CZW. You had Cappuccino Jones and Bryce Donovan. WWE announced the recruits under the new program on Thursday. Steele is listed as scouted from CZW. Then you have Donovan, who is recruited, who is one of the recruits through Creative Pro Wrestling and Wrestle Open, while Jones was from This Is Wrestling. WWE announced the program last week, which it describes as a developmental program designed to put up-and-coming independent wrestlers a pathway to a potential career in WWE. The company is set to reveal another prospect at tonight's Reality of Wrestling show. Then they also announced on Friday that their WWE ID program had recruited Zara Zakira. The company announced that Zara has joined them under the program, having been scouted from Millennium Pro Wrestling. Zara joins the previous announced Steele, Bryce Donovan, Cappuccino Jones, and also GCW star Jack Hartwheel was also a part of it. And Zara will be featured on GCW's upcoming show on January 10th, which shows you that WWE will allow some of their WWE ID talent to compete with GCW as well as West Coast Pro Wrestling, which will be for January 10th. Sean Legacy is the latest to join the WWE ID program. WWE announced on Friday that Legacy, who was scouted from Pro Wrestling Revolution and Pro Wrestling Noah tryout. Legacy has been wrestling for 7 years, having debuted in 2017. A new report has some more details on the new WWE ID program. The Wrestling Observer newsletter had some new information saying WWE will try to sign independent talent from schools or otherwise that they feel have potential as early as they can. WWE would previously invite talent to tryouts, and decisions were made either to offer them full-time deals or bring them to the Performance Center or to pass on them for the time being. The new program will mean that if talent are felt to have potential, they will have to sign to deals similar to WWE NIL program for college athletes. Talent under the program will be paid a nominal amount, and the door is potentially open from there. With independent talent, the idea is that they will continue training at WWE ID affiliated schools and work independent shows, as opposed to before when WWE did not want contracted talent to work independent shows unless they were through WWE. This would give the WWE the right of first refusal if talent receives offers from other major companies like AEW, TNA, or NJPW. If WWE wishes, they can then sign them to full-time deals and bring them to the PC in Orlando. If talent signed under the program are not trained at an affiliate school, WWE will recommend that they do so. WWE revealed new talent for the WWE ID program also on Saturday, and they include Sam Holloway and as well as another GCW named Marcus Mathers. Holloway is listed as being scouted from International Wrestling Cartel, while Mathers scouted from GCW. As noted, WWE program is for it to help these talents have a pathway for a future career in WWE. And there was a video release with William Regal letting the talents know that they are now part of the program following SmackDown. Fightful Select reports that WWE is planning to announce more familiar names for the program as they've already signed them. And the ID program extends to talent on the independent scene who are signed to major companies in the past, as long as they are a good fit for WWE. Many of the deals were set up some time ago, and some of the talent signed either have worked or are working AEW and ROH dates since talks began. It was also noted that Timothy Thatcher is said to be involved in a coaching and training role for the WWE ID program. So, Josh, I know you were skeptical, like me and Top Guy JJ last week, skeptical of this whole WWE ID program. But what do you think about the first recruits that were announced for it?
First recruits were fine. You know, I'm familiar with some of the people that showed up from GCW and Creator Pro, because those are like basically the two main ones that I follow. Again, I mean, I think it benefits the talent than anything. I think it's a plus for the talent if they feel like this is an easier path to get to WWE. By all means, right? You're gonna take the opportunity. Our concern is more of like the going forward when it comes to like where independent wrestling is going to stand going forward, right? Because if WWE is going to do stuff like this, where they're kind of signing talent into a program kind of thing, and then if another company shows interest, and then they're like, oh wait, here's an actual contract. It's not going to be good for the business. That's just, you know, it is what it is, and I think that's kind of why they're doing it. Because again, this kind of news came out of nowhere. Well, like, oh yeah, we're gonna do a program, and this is what we're doing. And it's funny because a lot of schools that are associated under it, then a majority of the talent were signed outside of those schools. So I mean, it kind of shows you where they're going with it, and that's why, again, like, it is giving me UK vibes. WWE vibes again. You know, like where it kind of disrupted the UK scene for a long time, and UK scene didn't really recover until like, you know, recently. I think they have some nice things. I think Rev Pro has been like their biggest one, right? And you know, they've been doing some great stuff in Rev Pro. So I mean, and when it comes to the US, I think that's where more so the concern comes in, where it definitely hurts like AEW, because like AEW wants to sign the talent. Oh no, I have this WWE ID program deal that I can't get out of. So, you know, and that's why WWE is doing it, and I understand it. It's not like I don't have to like it, but I understand, like, it's business. Business is business. And if these kids feel like this is an easier path to get to WWE, and they want to make money, by all means, like it definitely benefits them. Like at the end of the day, they have to decide what they want to do. And if this is the decision they're making, you know, I can't really be mad about that.
Yeah, and they got some good talent so far. I've seen some work from Zara Zakher, as well as Bryce Donovan and Jack Cartwheel.
I think Donovan was the biggest name, at least to me. I think he was the biggest one that I was like, oh shit. They actually
I thought Jack Cartwheel was the biggest name, because he's been on AEW and ROH a few times.
Yeah, him too. But I think Donovan, I think it was more like a personal kind of thing, because like he was somebody that I did follow for a while. So when I saw him, I was like, oh shit, like he's going for it, you know. Mm-hmm. Again, it's like, it's not really for the talent, it's not really a bad thing. Because again, they gotta look out for themselves. It's a future for them. So I can't knock that. No matter what, I can't knock that. We could be concerned on the overall picture of like what it means for independent wrestling, but for the talents themselves, I don't think it's kind of fair, like, if we were to criticize them, whatever the case may be, because again, at the end of the day, it's their decision, and if they feel like this is the right decision, or they feel like this is their best chance, I'm never going to be upset about that.
We got I Make Beats. It says, when do we get Cappuccino Jones versus Joe Coffey? It's coffee versus coffee match.
Yo, when I saw that name, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, yo.
That's one of the greatest names in pro wrestling history.
Yo, I had a double take. I was like, wait, what the fuck? I was like, his name Cappuccino. I'm like, all right, that's his name. Like, that's. Imagine if WWE gave him that name, that wouldn't go very well.
No, you had to come in with that name. You can't have WWE
WWE. They didn't make that, because then, you know, it'd be a whole uproar of like
And
That
It kind of reminds me of
his name will probably not be Cappuccino Jones when he debuts with the company.
that shit reminds me of in Kick-Ass 2, where this guy he was naming all the villains with like stereotypical names, like because of their race.
yes.
He called the black. He's like your name is Black Death, and then John goes. I was like, whoa, hold on. Do you see what you're doing right now?
Lovely. Krssi Love, what do you think about this whole WWE ID program? And do you think that it's going to be a benefit for these independent wrestlers that have already signed on?
I'm excited to see what they do. Of course, they're going to the the NXT leagues and go over there and see if they can shine. But like Josh said, it's given a lot of like the superstars, especially that they've been doing stuff in the indies and everything. They've been making names for them. So hopefully it's not like a 2.0.533 for NXT UK or like NXT like 2.0553. I don't know. Like it's giving those vibes. Like let's have another branch of young kids come in. Well, not all of them are even young, but hopefully it give them some type of like shine and like help work them and mold them. You've seen something in them, so don't try to change or tweak what they're doing because they've been doing something for you to get an eye on them. But yeah, I guess you got to change Cappuccino Jones, whatever that man name is. Yeah, you gotta kind of change.
Hey, you make money off of it. Fuck it.
He could be Bobby Jones.
No,
Bobby Jones.
Bobby Jones.
But yes, we'll talk more about the ID program, especially with them announcing a new one at tonight's Reality of Wrestling, with a lot of people believing that might be Zilla Fatu, who has probably been the most talked about independent wrestler in regards to getting a WWE deal soon, since he works for Reality of Wrestling.
It could be. That'd be a good thing for him because he really with Zilla right now. I know a lot of people bring up the whole bloodline stuff and again. I was like, nah, the kid is not ready. So I think the ID deal would be a good fit for him because he really needs. There's a lot of stuff with Fatu he needs to work on. He has potential in the ring. There's some stuff I like he does in the ring. He does unique things, like especially the spike that I talked about weeks ago, like the jumping spike. I actually like that from him. But for me, it's more the character, more of the outside stuff that he really needs to work on, like his maturity. Like he really needs to fix that up.
That is fair. And then last bit of NXT news, in a post on Twitter, Shawn Michaels announced that Pro Wrestling Noah star Yoshihiko Inamura has joined the WWE NXT brand. He wrote, "I'm excited to welcome Noah _GHC wrestler at Noah _Yoshihiki to WWE NXT. This hard-hitting young man is going to be a problem for anyone he steps in the ring with. I look forward to growing NXT's partnership with Pro Wrestling Noah in the future. #WWE NXT. It's unknown when Inamura will begin wrestling in NXT at this time. WWE has previously partnered with Noah by sending AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura and others to its events. So this is basically their first time that they're doing an excursion for a Noah talent coming over to NXT. Inamura has previously done an excursion with Progress in the UK, but this will be his first time on excursion in the US. I think that would be probably the most interesting part of the Pro Wrestling Noah and NXT is that right off the bat of it really starting this year, they've had, you had Tavion Heights and Josh Briggs. They had an excursion in their N1 victory tournament. And now we got our first star from Noah coming over to NXT for an excursion. So it helps out for these developing wrestlers.
Yeah,
it's a good thing. Yeah. And then also, this is kind of what we kind of wanted from these partnerships. Is like if it was fucking one-sided, we kind of know where that's going. But it kind of seems like they're kind of been fair both ends. Like, sometimes that's all you really need. Just send somebody over there, send somebody over here. Compared to like the TNA stuff, but that's a different story for another day.
True. AEW Dynamite this week was on at the same time as WWE NXT, so the rating went down. They did 523,000 viewers to NXT 619. The show featured Ricochet and the returning Powerhouse Hobbs defeating the Don Callis families, Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher in a great tag team main event matchup. Post-match, the Don Callis family were about to attack Mark Davis after he stopped a post-match attack from Kyle Fletcher, but it was Will Ospreay who returned to make the save, standing tall with the rest of the babyfaces. Adam Cole picked up his second win in his gauntlet to get to MJF at Full Gear in a rock-solid bout against Malakai Black. Post-match, Cole hugged Black and called him one of the best competitors he's been in the ring with before telling MJF that he and Roderick Strong will face him in a three-way matchup at Full Gear if they get their 3 wins. Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin versus the newly christened Death Riders of Pac and Claudio Castagnoli went to a no contest after Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir interfered in the matchup by attacking the referee, Darby and OC. Conglomeration defeated the Learning Tree in a very good fight without honor matchup. You also had the Hurt Syndicate open the show with Swerve Strickland challenging Bobby Lashley for Full Gear, which he accepted. Jamie Hayter picked up a victory over Penelope Ford, while Christian Cage explained why he attacked Taz to Hook in a masterful promo that helped flesh out this current storyline. And really, Christian reminded us how great he can be when he's able to get some time on the mic and kind of brush up the loose ends of the storyline. He did it so well, explaining why Kip Sabian took the pen from him at Grand Slam, also why he attacked Taz, and that promo wishing Taz would die. Oh my God. I was like, Christian, this is why you're the best heel in the business. He was our MVP on AE Ramble this week. Krssi Love, what did you think about Dynamite overall this week?
Dynamite was another good show. I thought both shows were pretty solid, and they had good openers for both. Christian Cage, wow. Let that man just talk, and he will just like persuade you, like, oh my God, that's so true. Like, he will have you like eating out of the palm of his hand. It's so good. Like, and like you said, he just tied up some loose ends because he was like just dragging on and on. He's like, no, wait, there's more. Let me tell you more of why all of these things happen. Great stuff. So yeah, solid show. Happy to see Will come back. Swerve and Bobby. Didn't know that was on the bucket list for this year, but guess what? We're gonna get it.
That Hurt Syndicate theme song is so good. I was listening to it on my ride home as well. Oh my God, so good. West Side Gun, Smoke SZA, and MVP on the track. That surprised me when I actually listened to the song. That MVP on the chat. He be spitting.
He's a wannabe rapper anyway, so it's only fair.
True. Josh, what did you think about Dynamite this week?
Dynamite was really good. They've had 2 good shows back-to-back weeks, in my opinion. Especially from that debacle from 3 weeks ago. So the last 2 episodes have been like really they've been great to watch. The opener was great. Seeing this Hurt Syndicate together, I thought that was cool. And then for them to like just make the announcement right away that it's gonna be Swerve versus Lashley, I thought that was cool. And they've been doing great stuff with them, like like the way they've been using Sheldon and MVP. It makes it feel important, and that's where that's where it feels good about, right? It doesn't feel thrown in. It kind of feels organic, like the build-up. So the Hurt Syndicate felt very organic. Then what else happened on the show? The Christian Cage stuff was hilarious because not only he insulted Kip, but then he basically said, like, hey, Kip, like, you've done the best thing that all my kids haven't done yet. Like, he called him a fatherless loser. Then while saying, like, you did something that none of my kids have done for me, so thank you. Like, I was like, wait, what just happened?
He's the favorite. Now he's the favorite child.
Nah, he's the favorite. I was like, what the fuck? Yo, that shit was mad funny. That part, like that part had me dead. And then the main event, that main event was actually really good. It was cool to see Powerhouse Hobbs because I didn't think it was gonna be Hobbs. Like he was like furthest from my mind. And then I kind of liked how they did play into that. Like, hey, there's a guy that his contract with you guys expired and he's not too happy about it because it's like you kind of forgot about him. And then it was Powerhouse Hobbs. So I kind of like that they used that.
I was so happy to use Hobbs. That was great.
Yeah, and he looks good. Like I don't know how. Like it seems like he got like.
Hobbs been waiting in the background for the longest. He said.
Yeah, like he was more jacked, right? I'm right. I know I wasn't bugging. Like I was like, God damn,
he did.
Right? I was like, fuck. It's like I mean, the guy's been putting in the work, and he's ready, and that's kind of the So it's good to see that. Mm-hmm. And then seeing Will, I think Will being on TV, I think is needed. So that's good that he's back. And then
they need all their stars on deck. They need these guys to stop taking breaks. We need to stop with the MJF breaks when he's done with this movie. We need to stop with Will Ospreay taking breaks, and then you need Kenny Omega back, and then maybe people will start watching again. We can get over 700.
I think Omega. I think is still I think he's the biggest factor because remember the last biggest rating was when Omega was on TV. So,
Did he just come back like he was in New Japan, right? So now
he's doing stuff in New Japan, and I think it looks like he's gonna get clear. Yeah, it looks like he's gonna get clear. So, I mean, hey, if he shows up in New Japan, that means we're getting him back on AEW TV soon. So, I mean, that's a good sign. Because I definitely miss Kenny. I was like, yo, like definitely miss him, like because he's good on the mic, great in the ring, like he does it all. So that's definitely been missed. But I mean, again. Dynamite was overall, I thought it was a good show.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to talk about the loss for AEW this week as the Wednesday Night Roars was rebooted and made a return for one night only this week with WWE NXT going head-to-head against AEW Dynamite. WWE NXT TV aired on Wednesday night this week due to the CW's election night coverage on Tuesday. For NXT, they put together a special ECW-style event held at the former ECW Arena in Philadelphia with appearances by multiple classic ECW stars, Rob Van Dam, Dudley Boyz, Rhino, Francine, Dawn Marie, Nunzio, and more. WWE NXT surpassed AEW in both the overall viewership and key demo ratings for Wednesday due per WrestleNomics. Wednesday night's NXT averaged 619,000 viewers compared to 523,000 viewers for Dynamite. NXT viewership ticked up by 5% from last week's show, which averaged 588,000 up against the MLB World Series the week prior. Meanwhile, Dynamite viewership dropped by 28% compared to its 628,000 viewers for last week's Fright Night episode. NXT also surpassed AEW in the 18 to 49 demo. NXT averaged a 0.17 rating in the key demo versus AEW that averaged a 0.16. NXT's key demo rating increased by from the 0.14 rating they did last Tuesday. Dynamite's rating fell from 0.19 rating that they got last week. AEW Dynamite previously went head-to-head with WWE NXT last month with a special Title Tuesday episode, but only 1 hour went against NXT on the CW. That show averaged 329,000 viewers, which is their lowest ever, and a 0.10 rating. Meanwhile, NXT airing on the CW that night averaged 874,000 and a 0.24 rating. The show marked the second episode of NXT on the CW, and the NBA's game featuring the Warriors versus Celtics topped the ratings for Wednesday night. And after this ratings win for NXT, gotta ask the question. I'll ask it to you first, Josh, since you're our biggest judge, our hardest critic. Is WWE NXT better than AEW right now? Or is it what other factors is the reason why they won again? Or do you think that NXT is just better at drawing viewers than than AEW currently? What do you think?
I think it's a mixture of perception. I think that's one. And then the other is maybe NXT does do better stuff when it comes to like promoting or what they implement. because again, with like this past week, right? They used the whole ECW stuff. They used their nostalgia kind of formula tactic. So that was part of it. That was part of it. When it comes to the overall shows, do I think it's better? Not necessarily. I think there's certain weeks that it could be better. Then like and there'll be one week and NXT probably looks better overall than Dynamite. There's weeks where Dynamite is better than NXT. So I think a lot of things do come into factor because I mean, when it comes to the booking itself, right? When it comes to the AEW's booking, there's a lot of stuff we could go about when it comes to AEW's booking, but NXT too. There's kind of the weird thing with NXT, and I noticed it, and I thought I was the only one. And I remember I asked my good buddy John Escudero, right? Because he's very fair. He's very like down the middle when it comes to a lot of things. I thought I was like kind of bugging about this, and he kind of said like, "Yeah, I see it too." When it comes to NXT, sometimes they will like promote heavily on one show, right? Like if they're bringing in somebody from TNA or whatever the case may be, or there's like a special show, they'll promote it heavily. If it's a nothing show, they usually kind of like their quality kind of falls off. Like one week will be really hot, and then the next week is kind of like, oh, we just got that. And it's very common when it comes to HBK's booking. And that's why, at least with me, that's why I don't give him as much credit as other people do. But then also there's a lot of stuff he relies on that he's done in his past that he uses. I don't think that necessarily makes you a great booker. It doesn't make you a bad booker, but I think there's certain things that you rely on a little too much that it's like you're probably handicapping yourself when it comes to creativity. That's just my opinion when it comes to that. But overall, I think it's a mixture of perception, how they promote it, and also, I mean, NXT is on, they're on the CW network, so that definitely does help them now, more so. Especially this past week, I think whenever we were talking about it, I think like the previous week or whatever the case may be, we kind of did say like, NXT's probably gonna win again. So it wasn't like, right? So it wasn't exactly shocking. I know some people are trying to say,
it wasn't a shocking ordeal when we find out they were going to go neck and neck. We already know what the people are. They're all a bunch of marks and pricks, and they don't want to see AEW win. So,
I mean, that's part of it too.
I think there's more to it than just that. I think like it's a nuanced conversation to have to ask NXT better than AEW. I don't think most weeks I enjoy NXT more than AEW. That's why I posed the second question. I think that NXT though is better at promotion. It is better at retaining the audience, because if you just compare the numbers, really what I try to look at when I look at the ratings is what show had the more balanced viewership or didn't go down. And right now, AEW is bleeding fans most weeks.
It is.
Like this show started off at 666,000 viewers for the Hurt Syndicate segment to open the show, and then ended with 460 for the main event. That's bleeding the audience. That's why the number is so low. It's because you start at 666 and you go down to 460, you lost 200,000 viewers between your show, between the first segment and the last segment of your show. While NXT, they started out at 667. So like very close numbers. The numbers is very comparable for the first segment of NXT compared to the first segment of AEW, but their main event segment did like 550, 570 for the main event with the 10-woman tag. They did a better job of retaining their viewership throughout the whole show, whereas AEW right now is bleeding viewers, and a lot of that comes down to promotion. And it feels like with the last two, when they went head-to-head with NXT, AEW, I'd say it put a better effort this week, and this week's show was good. I agree with y'all, but I think they should have done the bigger show. Like they did a whole special show the week prior with Fight Night. This was the night to do another special, do back-to-back specials like you were doing in the summer when you were trying to retain a viewership before your deal. And they didn't put that type of effort, like a special show, especially when you're going up against an ECW nostalgia show.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it too. And I don't think they were going to do that. just because sometimes, again, that's kind of what NXT does rely on, not so much on the side, but like every time they knew they had to do something. And I think that's why when they first got into like the Monday Night Wars, like when they first, that's the Monday Night Wars, until like the Wednesday Night Wars, I think a big part of the reason why NXT lost so many nights was because they relied on that shit so heavily of like stuff that we will get on TakeOver. They started doing it on TV. And that kind of took away from what NXT was doing great. Like they had the hour television, right? They kept it small, short and sweet. And then we got like the takeovers, which was the biggest payoffs. When they kind of brought them up into network television because, they want to say, oh, this was the right time. No, they wanted to compete with AEW because they felt like AEW was taking their night. So they started doing a lot of shit that kind of took away from what the black and gold was about. And you're kind of starting to see that, like they're starting to see that still, but because again, it has to do with perception, when it comes to stuff like that, all those things do matter. But I do agree, like, yeah, they do better job with promoting, because even like when you're watching Monday Night Raw, they do promote NXT, like they do commercials for NXT. So there's things that they do well when it comes to that as well. Like when it comes to like what they do with NXT and anything like that. With Dynamite, we've been saying it for a long time. It's like they're promoting that they need to get better at. And sometimes I don't know how they will do that. Now they have more money, so maybe they'll figure out a way. Maybe start the new year, they'll find something and figure things out. But yeah, that's part of it.
Like with production, I don't necessarily need the whole big stage and that type of production, which I know that there was a report this week that AEW is going to be having like more sports-like presentation with the new deal coming into place in 2025. What I need is them to run some smaller freaking buildings, because that's what this lesson should be, is that they did probably the same amount of people in the building than AEW did, but AEW did a fucking 10,000 seater in a dark building that no one could see the fans because it was only like probably a half full at best. And then the NXT did a smaller building, but they packed the show out and they were loud throughout the whole thing. Like that show looks more exciting than you right now, because you're in these dark buildings. You're taking us back to before the WWF rise, for wrestling in dark buildings that are half full. That's an issue, and that's a part of the perception that has only got worse the more times they do it this year.
Yeah, because
from Impact and do the smaller venues. I always like judge Impact on like why they have like these like little, like it look like it's 10 people in there, but really no, they're filling those shits up and they putting on great shows and with those little bit of people. And that's what NXT, AEW, that's what Tony needs to like really sit back and do, because I'm sure it's a lot of money to even book these places. And you're not even filling the seats in. You gotta start from scratch, friend.
You got to go back to smaller buildings. Do like a 5,000 seater. Do a 3,000 seater. It's not the. I think
still that impactful. People are still gonna come. Like if you don't like it, it will work out better in your favor. I feel like he thinks that it's him like admitting defeat if he goes to a smaller building at this point. But I really don't think that. I think that if they can pack smaller buildings and they're live and vibrant like the old Dynamite crowds, then that's gonna help the perception of it all. If you could say we sold out this 3,000 seat building, that type of thing has helped out TNA so much this year. The amount of shows that they've sold out because they run smaller buildings.
No, it has, and that's why it's kind of a crazy thing, where that's the they're promoting that they're selling out buildings, which is actually true. By numbers, they are selling out buildings. But that's why it's kind of weird, because like when you see it online too, like the argument is always like they're trying to put, a lot of fans are trying to like make this whole big thing about TNA, like, oh, TNA has always been better, and it's like, guys, you never fucking watched TNA, like let's just stop the cap. You know, and it's like this is something that they did ask the Young Bucks before a long time ago. They're like, would you guys do bigger buildings with like lesser crowds in it, or would you rather go into smaller buildings to make it look good? Like that's a better, you know, viewing. And they chose the second one. So that's why it's kind of weird, where it's like, you know, if you know this is a problem or a thing, how come they're doing these big venues and, you know, they're only getting not even half of the crowd? And, you know, and it sucks to see, because for most weeks, AEW, they do put on good shows, regardless of what people want to say. A lot of their weekly stuff is actually really good, especially the last, like, you know, as in like wrestling wise. I know there was a while where kind of the buildups were a little weird, especially to like Full Gear, and then the last pay-per-view was a little weird. But it's not like we're watching like historically bad shows. Like we're not watching like 2006 TNA or like WCW on their bad days. But I do agree, like they need to figure out a way for them to do smaller buildings. I think that would be a good move going forward. It's just that on the ladder, getting smaller buildings is hard, and I've been a witness to that. Like trying to book a smaller buildings, they're not easy. So maybe that's a part of it too. It's just one of those things I wish I could sit down with Tony Khan myself and interview him. And this is something that I would love to ask him about and get his insight of things, because again, a lot of things are speculation. That was a good point that you made about like, oh, maybe that's him admitting defeat, which it could be true. It could be him admitting, like if he was to do that, that would him be admitting defeat, and that's why he doesn't want to do it. But again, I would love to know the insight of that. Like, is it true? Like, this is how he feels, or why does he do these big buildings, knowing he's not going to pack the building? You know what I mean? It's a little weird.
I think it's okay to just do the big arenas for your pay-per-views. Like we've said time and time again. We've talked so
and
much
the pay-per-views have done well.
Yeah, we talked about their business for pay-per-views is
the pay-per-views always do well.
Like attendance, the people that watch it through the pay-per-view, and then the quality of the pay-per-view. So that's understandable to run arenas then. But for Dynamite on a Wednesday in the middle of the week, every single week in these 5,000, 10,000 seat buildings, it just doesn't make sense after the year that they've had with attendance going down so much.
Yeah, and it's true. Like I noticed that myself, because, you know, again, like when it comes to like the whole internet argument, right? Where people, when AEW does a pay-per-view and they draw a great crowd, is always like, oh, I thought this company was dying. But then every time Wednesday night, people try to use the other argument of like hate watching and trying to use the whole crowd thing. That's where it kind of turns me off when it comes to a lot, because even when WWE was struggling, I never liked shit like that, because it's like, it's a little fucking weird. It's just like, guys, like,
yeah,
this is not a good thing. Like, why do we keep doing this? And I know recently somebody tried to do that with a WWE show, because there was a Monday Night Raw where like they were missing like half the crowd. But at the same time, I'm like, what does that do for me? Like, that's not a victory. That's just fucking weird to hover onto something like that. Who gives a fuck? But that's something that they definitely, like, with AEW itself, they really need to fix it. They really need to find something like, yeah, like you said, they're not doing 20K. No, they're not doing 20K.
No, some weeks
buildings.
they are. Some weeks they are doing like 20K buildings.
No, I'm saying, but like when he's saying like they're doing 20K now, I'm like, no, some buildings,
he's saying, but they're doing 20K buildings in general, and they shouldn't be doing 20K buildings for a Wednesday. When you're
they shouldn't.
Like 4,000, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't, but I mean, a lot of their buildings that they've been doing hasn't, because I do follow all that stuff, like WrestleTix and all that stuff. A lot of the buildings that they've been doing on Wednesdays hasn't been 20K buildings, especially the last few weeks, the last several weeks hasn't been 20K buildings. It has been more like 12, 13K. But then the numbers are still not good when it comes to that. So like even regardless, it's not a good sign either way. You know what I mean? It's not a good thing.
You have to revamp it in some way, and that helps with the perception. When you have people who are loud and vibrant, even if it's a 5,000 seater, a 4,000 seater, 3,000 seater, but you get 2,000. If it's a 3,000 seater and you get 2,000 in it, you can make that look packed out, and that looks like a fun show to be at, and will make other people watch. I think they have good stuff going on quality-wise. Like, they have one of the best rosters I've ever seen assembled for a wrestling company. They have really good storytelling that's going on right now with the Jon Moxley and the Death Riders versus Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, and the rest of the AEW locker room. Hurt Syndicate and Swerve Strickland has been a really good program. Jay White and Hangman Adam Page has been great. Like, they have a lot of good stories going on, but they got to improve on their promotion. I have seen they have been addressing that, like the way they've been promoting the November to November tour and all their dates, and they promote matches ahead of time. But that's like step one. Step two would be stop running these freaking 12,000 seat buildings if you're only going to get 2,000 to 3,000 in there. Run a 5,000 seater, run that for like a 6-week stretch. And if on most of the weeks you're getting 4,000 or more, stick to that for a little while longer. And I think that you will see a difference in people wanting to watch if your show looks like the place to be because you're selling out a 5,000.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why it benefited Collision a lot during the summer, because in the summer they had that what was that building? The EA Sports building.
Stadium,
yeah. Right. They had the esports stadium. And I actually did. I thought that was a good look for them, and they were selling out those shows. Like, all those shows were sellouts, and those were like 1,500 seat venues, I believe, and they were selling out those shows. So I do agree when it comes to stuff like that. Like, I think, but also, I mean, at least with me, like, I think doing smaller buildings will be a unique look too. I think it'll be something pretty cool, because like I've seen it with TNA when TNA was doing that Detroit building. I thought that was a unique look. I actually like the building that they did. Something like that would be cool. I think like visually too, it would be a nice thing. But I do agree, like, that's something I don't know who works in that department. I don't know how that shit works. Those are kind of things I would love to know about, because it's like, guys, if whoever's booking these buildings, might want to go smaller.
Yeah, smaller is the key. I think that will help a lot with perception wise, and they just have to be better with promoting stuff, because you have seen a pattern throughout 2024 of your first segment is always your highest rated segment. So you need to give them like a show long narrative from the start that will make them stay with the show throughout, instead of this audience bleeding like it did this past Wednesday. They can't do it. But it really tells me right now that overall, WWE is the hotter product. It's the product that people are going out of their way to see. There was 1.1 million wrestling fans that watched wrestling on Wednesday, and a majority went and watched an NXT show that had developmental people and ECW legends. That should make a difference to AEW, where they say, okay, we got to change some things up. That should be inspiration.
No, it should be. Yeah, I agree with that.
Because that's not that. No matter, we can make the excuse of network TV, and I do think that not enough people talk about the difference between doing a show on cable to having network TV. And I think CW's is available in like 110 million homes to 72 million for TBS. That is a factor, but it's a bigger factor of it's your night. It's your night. It does not matter. It's your night, and they came on your night and they sunned you again. Like they did, but they embarrassed you when you came to their night.
You embarrassed you, damn, yo.
No. They embarrassed them when they came to Tuesday night, and they did like 300,000 to their 800,000. That's an embarrassment. They got straight mollywopped when they went on Wednesday. This was
but even with that night, it was like, even with that one, like I think I kind of saw the writing on the wall. I didn't know it was gonna be that bad. But because you didn't see the same effort, like when it came to like the build-ups and the bookings and shit, like when it came to like the promoting, I knew they were gonna lose, but I was like, when I saw that, I was like, God damn, like 300. But then there was also people who didn't know they were on Tuesday, because even in the chat, when we were in the chat, we had to remind somebody, no, it's on tonight. They didn't know, and then some other idiot in that chat tried to say, oh no, Dynamite's not on tonight. How the fuck you're telling me this is something that we're watching? Like, this is something that we do every week. So how are you gonna tell me what's not on, what's not on?
Of course. And you know, Josh, he wasn't gonna take that shit sitting down. He's like the Tony Khan bump where we play. I'm not gonna sit back and take this fucking shit.
Yeah, yo, when I saw that, I was like, the fuck out of here. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? That's why I booted his ass.
But we also had some big news coming out of AEW Dynamite this week, as a lot of people were talking about Malakai Black's AEW contract status after him taking the loss to Adam Cole on the show. It saw Black call for the finish and hug Cole after the matchup instead of the offered handshake. There was speculation online that the moment could be a send-off of some kind for Black. Fightful Select has not confirmed anything about the end of the matchup and instead reported that they've heard from those within AEW about Black's status. The word backstage in recent months was that Black could be done sometime toward the end of 2024 or in early 2025 if options were not exercised on AEW's side. Again, this is the word backstage and nothing is confirmed. Tony Khan mentioned back in 2022 that Black was under contract for 5 years, though the site reports that the period does include option years. Whatever the case, Black is expected to not be retiring. In a video posted to his Instagram stories, Black addressed his status in AEW and in wrestling after fans speculated following his match on AEW Dynamite. Black said he is not retiring and not leaving AEW, nor is he currently injured. He said, and I quote, "Here we are once more. The match is done. And again, everybody is, oh, he's retiring. He's retiring because of his injuries and this and that. I'm neither of these things. I'm not injured, nor am I retiring, nor am I leaving. I feel this happens every match I have, and I don't understand how many times you're going to say these things and them not happening, and people are going to fall for that. I haven't been injured for more than 3 years. I'm referring to my back injury, of course, and I only posted about that after it was done. I'm fine. I've been fine for the longest time. I would really appreciate if that stuff stops. If I'm going to retire, you're going to hear it from me and not after Adam cuts a promo as a thank you for the match, because that's all it was." Krssi Love, what do you think about Malakai Black's future with AEW? If the report is to believe about what Fightful says, the end of 2024 or beginning of 2025, he should have his contract up with AEW. Do you think that he re-signs? Does he stay with AEW? Does he go back to WWE? Does he just leave in general? And what have you thought about Black's run in AEW?
His run has been kind of stagnant, like it's up and down. But I think he can still I feel like he has more to do there still. I don't think he should go back to WWE. I think that would be a really bad mistake. But I think he still has future matches that still can be put on with other guys that are there. Just Tony needs to utilize the roster that he has. You have 3 freaking shows, get them together. And you have ROH. There's room for you to get these things in order and fix it properly.
Josh, what do you think about the whole Malakai Black controversy of the week? And do you think he should stay in AEW? Should he go back to WWE? And what have you thought about his run?
For the first question, I think it's blown out of proportion a little bit. Malakai carries himself a certain way, and I think people need to see that as well. At least when he did it and he said it, when he spoke about it, I didn't see a big deal out of it. This is just me personally. I was just like, all right, he's just clarifying certain things. And I get there's other people's frustrations behind it. I know there's somebody who's been on this channel who wasn't too happy about it.
Ooh,
and she went off on Malakai about it. But I mean, you know, he carries himself a certain way. He's not gonna go complain about things, right? Now if his demeanor is a certain way, maybe he could work on it. At the same time, I'm like, if that's how he carries himself, it is what it is. Again, I didn't see nothing. I didn't see the big deal. That's just me personally. Because we've seen it from him before. And I just don't think it's the end of the world. I think what Andrade was doing was worse. When he was going on Twitter, fucking complaining, somebody will say something and then he will talk shit or like whine and complain. I think that's worse in my opinion. But as in where he goes from here, I don't know. He goes back to WWE. What he's gonna be put in the fucking Final Testament. I don't want that for him. It's gonna be a whole lot of nothing for him in WWE. With AEW, there are things that I've liked. There are things I'm like, it could be better. Like the House of Black thing wasn't a bad idea. Like when they were like the champions, I kind of did like when they were the trios champion. I thought that was like a nice thing for them. As for what he wants himself, what Malakai wants for himself, I mean, you know, he's a great wrestler. He's a great performer. I just don't think a world championship is going to be in his future. Do I think he wants that? I don't necessarily think he wants that himself. And that's okay. Some people just don't want that big responsibility. Maybe he just wants to perform. Maybe he just wants to do this. You know, some people go into the business not wanting titles, not wanting the bigger stuff. And it happens all the time. So again, we really don't know what he really wants. And at the end of the day, like he'll go back to WWE because his wife is there. And, you know, if he's content with that, that's fine. You know, I think that's his decision to make no matter what. I do think maybe he should stay in AEW just because I'm like, he goes to WWE, it's going to be a whole lot of nothing. So I'm like, and at least with AEW, he does have the House of Black kind of thing going on. There are things that they could do and still do there if they was to put effort into it, because I do think Brody King is a fucking badass. Buddy Matthews, it seems like he's come to his own when it comes to like when they use him more and they do things with him. So there are things they've done well. Could they do more of it? Absolutely. I don't think nobody's disagreeing with that. But I think he should stay. I think he should stay, see where it goes. If he's content with it, wherever he wants to go, I'm fine with that. But the reaction, what he said, I can understand why people got upset. At the same time, I'm like, I think
leave him alone.
I think it's blown out of proportion. I'm like, he didn't say like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. At least to me, I'm like, just leave the fucking guy alone. Like, he hugged Adam Cole. He had his reason doing it, and I can understand why he's a little bit frustrated with that. It's like, guys, like, fucking relax.
Just happy to see my bro. Like, we haven't wrestling like that.
I think it's on both ends. I get it. It's like one side I see it. I get why people be upset. At the same time, I'm like, he has his reasoning. He carries himself a certain way, like to try to have.
He carries himself like he don't give a fuck when he's in AEW.
Yeah, you know, and I get it.
I don't know. I think y'all sugarcoating it. I think that freaking Malakai Black has had a top 3 worst booked wrestler in AEW run. Like, he's a guy that came in, he could have been a top heel or at least a top guy for the company with the way that he came in with the Cody Rhodes angle and the rivalry that they do. And they completely botched that because they needed to give Cody a win back when Cody just 6 months later was leaving the company. So that did not pay off. That did not make any sense. The House of Black, that's been great.
He got Gatekeeping Rhodes. Yeah, that didn't help. He got Gatekeeping Rhodes.
I like their run as the trios champions, and that was all fine and dandy. But it never feels like they want to go all the way with the House of Black.
Yeah,
it feels,
and I think that's the problem too. Yeah, and I think that's the problem to it, where it's like it could go places. It's just like, well, we're kind of waiting for it, but then something always happens. Somebody always gets injured, or they just get taken off TV. It's just a whole thing where it's like there's potential there. Something is there. It's all about execution, right? Because I think, again, right? When something is put together, we could either say like, oh shit, this is fucking bad, or like whatever the case may be. I just thought this stable, it's not a bad thing. It's just I think a lot of us just want to see more of it or to see where the fuck it goes.
We got Frantic World who says, I think Black should stay in AEW. We got Big Man Dogs who says, I want Malakai to stay in AEW if they use him well. I think that him going back to WWE would be the best thing. I don't know. No, I don't think that he's going to be like a world champion or a main event guy, but I think they will use him better and more consistently in WWE than Tony Khan has ever done with him in AEW.
Yeah, I just don't want the Andrade formula with him. I don't want he comes back, he shows up 3 matches in 5 months, and then he has a 7-match series with somebody, and that's how they use him.
It's only been a year with Andrade. To be fair, we don't have we don't have a lot.
You know what I mean? No, but like that was the formula of like, hey, we want it better for Andrade. But it just seems like we're not going to get that one right. And I think a lot of us have seen, like, we have said that ourselves. Like, he goes back to WWE, you're not going to get what you want from the guy. And, for the most part, I mean, minus the mellow stuff, we haven't gotten that from Andrade. And I think Malakai is kind of in that same spot. Honestly, he's kind of in that mid-card kind of tier. And I think his talent is better than that, but that's just where the business goes. Because Malakai goes back to WWE, guess what? He's not taking no big spot. He's just gonna be another guy that they have on the roster. Like, oh shit, yeah.
But they have availability for him to come in if he wanted to be a top heel. He has a better.
They do. They have the ability.
Can be. They need more heels in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they has the ability, but it's like for me, it's like, would they do that? I don't know if they would do that. That's the thing. That's where it comes down to.
No, but I think he has a better chance there than he does in AEW. Like I said, I think he's had a top 3 worst booking in AEW. I think the only people that probably had worse booking than him and were hotter was Wardlow and Ricky Starks. That's the only 2 I would put again over Malakai Black. I think you could bring up other people like your Miro's of the world, but he doesn't have the glaring thing that Miro has, where Miro feels like he gave up like a year ago. So I like Malakai. At least he's here.
And Miro shot himself in the foot.
He doesn't always look like he wants to be here, but at least he's here.
Yeah, and I think I mean, and I get it with Malakai. Like I get that perception. It's just again, at the end of the day, we kind of don't know where the guy's mindset is at. That's just the way he's carried himself, and I've known that for him ever since he was Tommy End. Right, he's always been that kind of person. Doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you anything else. I could see why people on the outside would see that, right? It's kind of like a sports athlete, right? For example, like a sports athlete. Like if a sports athlete kind of does certain things on the field, people will question, right? Like if a quarterback misses a throw and he reacts a certain way, people are like, "Oh, why the fuck are you doing that? You're the leader. You're not supposed to be doing that," right? But that's just how they show their emotions. And I think And I think with Malakai, he just shows his emotions of just keeping a lot of shit to himself. And when he speaks up, all of a sudden it's a problem when he speaks up. Because anybody that knows him better is himself and his wife. So again, I get both sides. It's not so much I'm disagreeing with anybody. I get both sides of things. I get why people will see that. But I also know how he is for somebody that I've known for a while. I don't know. It was a weird situation when that whole thing happened. I was like, guys, why is this a thing? We have bigger news.
It's also that Malakai does have to take some blame for it because
he does. Yeah,
he was obviously gonna leave. If Tony Khan would have let him out of his contract in 2022 when Triple H became in charge, he would have left. We all know this. Yeah. We don't need to pussyfoot around it or sugarcoat it. When there was talk of, and the rumor was that there was former WWE stars that got called upon by Triple H to come back to the company and see if they can get a way out of.
Oh, yeah, he was definitely one of them.
He was at the top
definitely
of
one
the
of
list.
them. Yeah, he was definitely one of them. I could see that. Like, there's no, that's when it comes to that, yeah.
He was at the top of the list. He was the main suspect. And that's why anything you do is going to be kind of like looked at with a microscope now. And then, yes, a lot of that is on him.
No, yeah, part of it is on him. Like, I'll give it that. Like, I'm not saying he's innocent at all. It's just one of those things where, I don't know, it's weird. It's kind of weird that this become bigger than it should have, because if he leaves, he leaves. That's just how I see it. Like, he leaves, and he goes back to his wife, and I think that's really what he probably would want. He doesn't talk about it as much, but I know he has been open about like wanting to work with her again, and that's within his right? You want to be close to wherever your significant other is, especially when you have different schedulings. Sometimes it's a lot harder. So if he was to go back, I was like, hey, do what makes you happy, bro. That's just what it is.
True. Then finally, for AEW this week, you had AEW Collision last night. The show featured the Death Riders, Wheeler Yuta, Pac, and Claudio Castagnoli, defeating the conglomerations Kyle O'Reilly, Mark Briscoe, and Tomohiro Ishii in a very good main event trios matchup to retain the AEW World Trios Championships. Orange Cassidy giving the orange punch to Wheeler Yuta as he got in the way of him and Jon Moxley after the matchup. The Outrunners beat Top Flight in a decent match to advance to the Full Gear four-way matchup for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Speaking of which, House of Black picked up a win over Iron Savages and Jack Jameson. Post-match, FTR stepped up for Dax Harwood to cut a wonderful promo about their first match on Dynamite together this Wednesday in the AEW four-way contender series. Jack Perry beat Action Andretti. Post-match, Daniel Garcia confronted TNT champion to challenge him for Full Gear. Nick Wayne defeated AR Fox in a good bout. Post-match, he stapled a family picture of AR Fox's dad on his face. I was like, oh, Nick Wayne, you're becoming more and more like your father. And they aired a new vignette teasing the return of Julia Hart. This is a top 5 AEW vignette. This shit was so cool, with Julia Hart as a cheerleader, and she's being haunted by a dark angel, and the dark angel takes over and shoots a bow and arrow at her heart. And that's what caused her to become the dark Julia Hart that we saw before her exit due to injury in April. And then AEW Rampage this week, you had Lio Rush beating Commander in a solid main event in their second match together. You had Undisputed Kingdom defeated the Infantry and Dark Order. Top Flight beat Beef and JD Drake in tag team action, while Hikaru Shida made her return in a win over Viva Van. And so good stuff over there with Hikaru Shida returning to AEW over on Rampage. But Collision was the one that everybody was talking about last night. That Julia Hart vignette, go out of your way to see that. That's top notch. I had to even send that to Jimmy, who never watches Collision for obvious reasons. I had to say, you got to watch this part. Just watch this part.
And it was just her birthday like the other day. I think she just turned like 23 or something like that. So yeah, so good for
Collision has gotten better. Collision has gotten better doing like a follow-up with Dynamite, and I think that's what they should have been doing. So the last like 2 collisions have been like really good to watch, because it doesn't feel like, all right, we're just getting a bunch of matches and they're just going to see where it goes from here. I think that's what Collision needs to be. It needs to be a continuation of what they do on Dynamite. Now all the people are going to be there, obviously. Not all the follow. You're right. You're not going to get all the talent, but at least if you get the main storylines there, I think that's fine. Like, you know, like they've been doing the Death Rider stuff, the follow-ups the last 2 weeks. I think that's great. That's a great sign if you do things like that. The tag team stuff that they've been doing, follow-up, great stuff right there, right? Daniel Garcia, Jack Perry being announced on Collision, great stuff right there. I mean, that's what I kind of wanted for Collision, like be a continuation of what you're doing with Dynamite. Sometimes you need to do that. And I think they have something going. Hopefully they continue that.
I hope so as well. It's like an extension of Dynamite. It's very much the SmackDown in the 2000s to Raw. But that's what SmackDown was. It was an extension of what you would see on Raw was SmackDown, and that's how Collision has been working out the last couple of weeks. Last 3 weeks, I think, for Collision so far. So it's good stuff. And then finally from AE or the converse, if you will, with ROH TV, you had ROH TV on Honor Club this week. You had Katsuyori Shibata defeating The Butcher. AR Fox beat Josh Woods in a pretty decent bout, while Shane Taylor Promotions set their sights on the ROH World Six-Man Tag Team Championships, intimidating the locker room and looking for Dustin Rhodes. They also continued the Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara versus The Righteous storyline for the ROH World Tag Team titles, as well as Layla Hirsch made her return in a victory over Ashley Vox. But that's all from the converse this week. And we got to go over to New Japan Pro Wrestling, NJPW Power Struggle this week. That was their major show, the last major show over in Japan. The show features Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Shingo Takagi in a fantastic main event to retain the IWGP World Heavyweight title. This match was rated 5.25 stars from Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter this week. You also had post-match. It was Shota Umino who came out to lay out Zack Sabre Jr. And then Ricochet came out to lay out Zack Sabre Jr. and lay out a challenge for WrestleDynasty. So now Zack will defend against Shota Umino at Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th. And if he retains, he will defend the title against Ricochet at WrestleDynasty on January 5th. You also had Ichiban Sweet Boys, Robbie Eagles, and Kosei Fujita of TMDK. They defeated Catch 22s, TJP, and Francisco Akira in a spectacular bout to win the Super Junior Tag League final. Post-match, you had the Intergalactic Jet Setters officially challenge TMDK and Catch 22 to a three-way matchup for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles at Wrestle Kingdom, but the Bullet Club War Dogs attacked all three duos to make it a four-way at Wrestle Kingdom. David Finlay beat Tai Chi in an excellent encounter to retain the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship, thanks in large part to Sanada turning heel and joining the Bullet Club War Dogs. In post-match, you had David Finlay challenge Yota Tsuji for Wrestle Kingdom. Doki defeated Master Wato in a great matchup to retain the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Post-match, it was Doki who was challenged by El Desperado for Wrestle Kingdom. United Empire's Great Okan and Hanare beat TMDK's Shane Hayes and Mikey Nichols in a good matchup to retain the IWGP World Tag Team Champion, or win the IWGP World Tag Team Championships. And Kenny Omega made his return to New Japan Pro Wrestling. He teased a big in-ring return at WrestleDynasty on January 5th before getting into a backstage fight with none other than the madman himself, Gabe Kidd, to tease a future matchup between the two of them. Josh, I will go to you first. What do you think about Ricochet showing up, returning to New Japan after 6 years at Power Struggle, as well as everything that went down between Kenny Omega and Gabe Kidd to tease WrestleDynasty matchup in the Tokyo Dome?
I mean, it was cool to see Ricochet back with New Japan doing some stuff with them. He also got like a great reaction when he got a great reaction when he got to the ring. And as far as the whole Kenny Omega stuff, I thought that was great. I like the fact that Gabe Kidd, they seem like they're doing something with him, and it seems like they've been doing something with him for a long time. So for him to possibly get Kenny Omega, I think that's kind of a big deal. Especially when Kenny Omega wants to come back and he wants his first match to be in the New Japan ring, and to work with Gabe Kidd. I think that's a good thing. It works out for the guy. I think they got something there, right? They're trying to build up a top gaijin, and I think he could be he's that kind of talent, in my opinion. So, and the backstage stuff was great. Like the brawl was great, and then him talking shit about it in your interview was top level.
Speaking of which, yes, Gabe Kidd, I talked to him this week for Sports Illustrated. He got into the fight with Kenny Omega at Power Struggle, and he commented on the matter in our interview. He said on confronting Omega, he said, listen, I went to him backstage. I didn't try to get into any of this stuff happening. I knew where he was after he got off the mic. I knew where he was going to be, so I waited for him. And those little rats of fucking press staff, they were waiting around the corner. They heard us talking. I was just trying to have a conversation with him, but I was pissed. Listen, I said this to him. Before anything, before pro wrestling, I'm a man, a very mad one. And if you disrespect me like that, I hate when these people like MJF and Kenny, they try to act like they don't know what my name is because they're not cool, and they try to act cool in front of these other people, wrestling fans who are also not cool. It's just a bunch of not cool people trying to act cool, and it ain't a good look. You get slapped for that where I'm from. So I was just trying to have a conversation with him. What happened happened. On the reaction, because Sean Rossap of Fightful released a video before our interview on this was filmed on Thursday. He said, so I think my phone's been blowing up for the past hour. Everyone, all these little nerds on the internet, they're like, who's this guy? Why is he stepping to the GOAT? I don't even care about any of you little nerds. I don't even care what you think of this guy. You worship this man, and I slapped the shit out of him backstage because he got rude. So you can't say anything to me. This guy you worship got bitched out by me. That's all I got to say on that. And then on a possible match with Omega at WrestleDynasty, he says, so don't talk to me about who's going to step up and have a match with me. I slapped the shit out of you backstage. What you think I can do in front of 50,000 people in the Tokyo Dome? I will end you, Kenny. So, of course, I'm down for that match on January 5th. I ain't thinking about anything else. It's up to that little bitch whether he accepts it or not.
He wrote this in an Instagram post?
No, he said this to me in our interview.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Like, this is actually kind of how he's gotten over, right?
Yeah.
I think he's a solid work. I think he's actually a great talent in the ring. But the reason why he got over was because of his shit talking. Like, he's a top-notch shit talker. That's basically what's gotten him over, and that's actually what's gotten him like notice and recognition. So for him to go full blown out in that interview, I was like, yo, that was a great shit.
I was loving every minute of it. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a great article. This is gonna be a great article to do. He also said, because Kenny Omega spoke to Tokyo Sports this week, and he compared the backstage fight with Gabe Kidd to the last backstage fight he was involved in with CM Punk in AEW, and called Gabe Kidd unprofessional like that other guy talking about CM Punk. Gabe said, I did find funny is when he ran from the building immediately after the fight, ran to Tokyo Sports, and I pushed him and took a fighting stance, and he got the first hit in. When if you did, I didn't feel shit because everyone heard that slap I gave you in that video. Listen, I don't care about any of those other guys, any of those stories. You saw the video of Jack Perry, and he who must not be named, Little Phil, we'll call him Little Phil. It was the most embarrassing thing I ever seen, and they advertised it to air on TV. That was the most bonkers thing I ever seen in my life. I've seen better scraps at Nursery. It was embarrassing, so I don't care if he compared it to that.
Interesting.
Said everything with his chest. Watch the interview. It's on our community tab. Krssi Love needs to watch it too. It was so good.
All right.
It's good. It's actually a really good interview. I actually really enjoyed it.
Thank you. And then finally from New Japan, they had Fighting Spirit Unleashed. That was on Friday in Lowell, Massachusetts. The show featured Gabe Kidd beating Kosei Fujita in a very hard-hitting main event to retain the NJPW Strong Openweight Championship. Post-match, TMDK's Roye Uyowa made the save when Kidd and Kenta tried to attack Fujita and challenge Gabe to a matchup for his title at the next New Japan Strong show in December. You had Konosuke Takeshita defending the AEW International Championship in a great match against TJP. Post-match, Shingo Takagi came out to challenge Takeshita to a title versus title match for the international title and never openweight championship at Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th. And then Tomohiro Ishii came out to challenge both men for the winner to face him at WrestleDynasty on January 5th. You also had the Grizzled Young Veterans beat TMDK to win the NJPW Strong Openweight Tag Team Championships. LIJ defeated Undisputed Kingdom. Post-match TNT champion Jack Perry attacked Yota Tsuji to set up a crossover matchup between those two men. West Coast Wrecking Crew beat Dirty Work in a bloody 2 out of 3 falls matchup. Fred Rosser was leaking like a pig. And you also had Shota Umino and Tomohiro Ishii beat TMDK in tag team action. And post-match, Jon Moxley said he's sending a necessary, which is basically someone from the Death Riders to face Shota Umino at WrestleDynasty. So it'll be Umino versus either Claudio, Pac, or Yuta coming up on January 5th. So very eventful show there. Very good week for New Japan Pro Wrestling with the 2 shows that they had, and a lot of matches being set up for Wrestle Kingdom and WrestleDynasty. I'm looking forward to Takeshita versus Shingo. That's on my list. I'm already going to say that's probably going to be one of the best matches of the year.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, damn. I was like, shit. I could definitely gotta watch that. I was like, damn. They really.
Absolutely. Can't wait. But before that, you have in November and December, they got World Tag League for New Japan Pro Wrestling. They announced the block for the World Tag League this week. As they announced for the A block, it will be Bishamon. You got Bullet Club represented by Chase Owens and Kenta, Shota Umino and Honma, under United Empire with Jeff Cobb and Callum Newman, Alex Zane and X. It will be a mystery partner with him. Los Ingonables de Japón represented by Shingo Takagi and Yota Tsuji, TMDK represented by Zack Sabre Jr. and Roy Uyowa, and Bullet Club War Dogs represented by Gabe Kidd and Sonata. In the B block, you got the champions, United Empire, Great Okan and Honore, Just 4 Guys of Taka Michinoku and Tai Chi, TMDK, Shane Hayes and Mikey Nichols, Los Ingonables de Japón's Tetsuya Naito and Hiromu Takahashi, Hiroshi Tanahashi and Jado. Natural Classics will be making their debut in New Japan with Tomei and Stevie Phillip. You got Toriano and Bolton Oleg, and House of Torture with Ren Narita and Evil. We'll have more about the World Tag League, and we'll give our predictions probably on next week's show when they start the block action. But finally, we got TNA Impact this week. The show featured Moose defeating Speedball Mike Bailey in a terrific main event to win the X Division Championship. Post-match, Bailey's Speedball Mountain Tag Team partner, Trent Seven, came out and low-blowed Speedball before turning on him. Yeah, Joe Hendry released his latest music video, the Ryan Nemeth Life Story, which only lasted 10 seconds, and it went like this. He's Nick Nemeth's brother. End of story. And he faced him for next week's show. And you also had Masha Slamavision, Jordan Grace beat Alicia Edwards and Tasha Steeles in a fine opener to the show. So good week from TNA Impact as well. But we've made it to the end of the show, to Miss Krssi Love's favorite time of the show, the best and worst of the week, as well as match of the week. Who do you think? Best and worst of the week. Who had the best week this week, Miss Krssi Love? Who had the worst week for you?
Best week goes to the Bloodline, original Bloodline.
That's fair.
Worst week, AEW for their ratings for Wednesday.
That is fair. I was kind of going in that direction too. I'm not going to front. Okay. I would say best week. Keep it simple. Best week NXT. Worst week AEW. Like just keep it simple like that. NXT with an ECW false reunion, like ECW nostalgia show 400. Yet they still beat AEW with all the good storytelling, like I said, going on over there. That's a statement by NXT. So I got to give it to NXT and Tony Khan if I'm going to be different from Krssi Love. I would say Tony Khan, worst of the week.
Yes, Tony Khan is the worst. He is his fault.
Oh, your fault, Tony. Josh, what about you?
Oh, best of the week, I'm gonna go with Sami Zayn. You know, he's the one that got all the 4 members back together, right? I thought he had, and I also thought he had some good segments, Raw and SmackDown. Between those two, I thought like his segments were really good. That actually made it work out. And the worst of the week, I mean, by default, it's AEW, unfortunately. You know,
Gotta give it. Good shout by I Make Beats, who says New Japan, they had 2 solid shows in 1 week. I will say this is like the most anybody I've really like talked about New Japan. Honorable mention for best of the week to Gabe Kidd, because he's gotten the most attention that he's ever got with attacking Kenny Omega, and it's a big statement, like you said, that New Japan and Kenny Omega is choosing him to be Kenny Omega's return match to the company.
No, and it's a smart move, because again, like, this is something that we've been saying for a while, right? Like, you know, New Japan has been kind of like in a state of like they're trying to figure out, all right, who's gonna be our next top Japanese star? Who's gonna be our next like top like gaijin, right? Right now you kind of have it with Zack Sabre Jr. because he is the champion, right? But you know, sometimes you do need to build up your future. And I think Gabe Kidd is one of those guys that you build up with, and I think he's been proving himself not only in the ring, but his stuff, his promo work, or his shit talking. I think that's something that you kind of really need, because we don't get that much. We don't get much of that these days, especially the way he does it. I think his stuff is top notch. And then, you know, and with the Japanese, you know, they're still trying to figure it out. They're still trying to see who's their future, right? And I think a lot of us is in agreement that I believe is going to be Shota some point, but I got to see what's going to happen. Because I think with him, right, he also has some like, he's challenging like mad people. I'm like, whoa, slow down, buddy. You need to do something. Like, you need to win a title first. Like, you trying to win 2 titles in a week. I'm like, whoa, like, calm down, buddy.
Relax. But all right, then we got matches of the week, and of course it was another busy week, so I have 10.
So you got 10?
Go through them fast. Number 10, Dragon Lee versus Chad Gable from Monday Night Raw. I thought that was so good. Number 9, Gabe Kidd versus Kosei Fujita, the main event of NJPW Fighting Spirit Unleashed. Very great matchup between those guys. Dynamite, Ricochet, and Powerhouse Hobbs versus the Don Callis family. Number 8. Number 7 for me, Konosuke Takeshita versus TJP from Fighting Spirit Unleashed. Number 6, Moose versus Speedball Mike Bailey from Impact. Number 5, Team NXT Avengers versus Roxanne, Cora, and Fatal Influence from NXT. Doki versus Master Wato. Number 4 from NJPW Power Struggle. And the rest is from Power Struggle as well. Number 3, David Finlay versus Taichi. Number 2, the Super Junior Tag League final between TMDK and Cash 2-2, one of the best tag team matches of the year. But number 1, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Shingo Takagi from Power Struggle. Josh?
Nah, I agree with that. That's also my number 1. But number 3, I had I had it in my I'm gonna go with the main event from Dynamite. I thought that was pretty fun. Number 2, I'm gonna go with Dragon Lee versus Chad Gable, because the first time it was on, I did not pay attention. I'm not gonna lie, I did not pay attention to the match, unfortunately. But I went back to it, and it was a good match. This is kind of what I want for Dragon Lee, but it's like with him, it's one of those things where it's like they have an incredible talent in the ring, but I want to see more of it, you know. That's just all what it really comes down to. I thought him and Chad Gable had really good chemistry. Yeah, that was a great matchup. I knew both guys would deliver. I didn't know it was gonna be that good. So if they do more matchups, I wouldn't be opposed to that. And then number 1, Shingo versus Zack Sabre Jr. I was like, I knew that match was gonna be good, but damn, like that shit showed out. Yo, fucking delivered. And I think Zack Sabre Jr., he's just one of those guys where I think people have like the certain thing about Zack Sabre Jr., where we know he's super technical, so his style might not be for everybody, but he finds every fucking way to make it work, no matter who it is. That's special. No, that's fucking special. A lot of people don't realize like how difficult that could be, because his style is so unique that not a lot of people do it. Like, he's super technical, you know, like he's basically like in the same category as Gresham, but I think Zack Sabre Jr. is better. It's just one of those things where like what he does, not many people could say they do it, and he always finds a way to make it work with any type of talent.
Agreed. Krssi, your matches of the week.
Number 5 goes to the main event for NXT, from NXT, which is the 5-on-5 with the girls. Number 4, Gable versus Dragon Lee. Number 3 is main event from AEW's Dynamite, which is what Ricochet, Powerhouse, Hobbs versus a family. Number 2, I would give to Leo Rush and what did he
Commander
fight? Commander. That was
I forgot about that, man.
That was good. That was really good. And I was like, Leo Rush is winning because he keeps losing. So I was very happy that he won. So I was hyped about that, because I was like, yo, Leo Rush is wrestling his ass off in these matches and he's losing. And then number 1, I would give it to damn, I had it in my head. Gunther and Cody.
Okay, yeah, you missed last week, so it's fine.
Oh right, damn.
Yeah, no, you're all right. You're good. You're good. You missed last week, so you could include one match from the week prior.
It was a great match, so I can't knock it. It's a great match.
I thought it was gonna be. I didn't think it was gonna be that good, but then I was like, look, we have Gunther in here to like the workhorse to like have this like.
Yeah, when it comes to Gunther at this point, it's like I'll be ashamed of myself if I was doubt that man.
Right, exactly, and I was like, it's one of one of Cody's matches. I can't say like he pushed Cody in that match. I think that's one of Cody's best matches. So yeah,
Cody has gotten better too in the ring. Like he's gotten way better to the point that it's like when I hear Cody Rhodes match, it's like, all right, I think this is gonna be a good match too. But you get both of them together, it was kind of like I was like, damn. But also, I mean, Gunther. I mean, as much as I love Cody, goddamn, Cody owns Gunther. Like, oof.
Yeah,
man.
Hey, they're gonna give Gunther to win the next match.
But it's just like, like, goddamn, like even I'm saying that, and I'm a Cody guy, but I was like, God, I was like, damn, like, bro, he owns you. Like, oh, that's not good.
Damn shame. But that brings us to a close on another edition of our flagship podcast. We appreciate y'all if you're joining us live. Appreciate y'all if you're watching us on demand. If you haven't already, drop the thumbs up on the video. Help the YouTube algorithms, and let us know in the comments down below what you thought about the podcast today. Who you think is the most important member of the OG Bloodline? Do you think NXT is better than AEW right now, or anything else that we talked about throughout the show? Let us know in the comments down below. Miss Krssi Love, good to see you back on the show. We showed love to you last week in your absence. So let's get some love for you now. Let everybody know where they can follow you on social media, when they will see you again.
You guys can follow me, Krssi Love _1 or Tru Heel Krssi Love. Join myself and SP as we review something in pop culture on our other channel. Other than that, you can find me here with the guys every Saturday or Sunday for our flagship show, and you catch me on some like pop in. It's been a while since I've been on a watch along, so yeah, maybe another watch along I'll have to pop in on, show some love. So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for your super chats as well.
True Draw Josh, let everybody know where they can follow you.
Oh, you can follow me, JamPunk321, Twitter and Instagram. And I'll be back next weekend. Do I have anything scheduled for next couple of weeks? Nothing I could think of. Because one of the shows I'm going to is on a Friday, so that works out for me. So probably be on for the rest of the year. So far,
There you
I'm not making no promises, but if I have no events on Saturday, it looks so far. I know for the rest of the month, I'll be on for the rest of the month.
There we go. So we should be back on Saturday next week. So back to our regularly scheduled. I'm not traveling next weekend. I am going back to the UK because I can't stand it here now. But you can follow me on the Twitter
That's how it is, though. Like when you live somewhere else for a long time, it's a shithole. Sorry.
Well, I mean, now he has a better reason now. He has a problem.
So you're going back home next week then?
No, not next week. Probably sometime in December. I'm going back home. But you can follow me on the Twitter machine at Tru Heel SP3. You can follow the gang, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Tru Heel Heat. Patreon.com/Tru Heel Heat. We're going to start dropping some videos, some shortcuts from our flagship podcast over at patreon.com/Tru Heel Heat. And for our members, before we put it up for everybody else to watch. So it'll let us know what you want us to discuss on the next edition of the Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast. We're coming to the end of the year. So we're going to have some end of year discussions, probably starting in the next couple of weeks. So let us know in the comments what you want to hear us talk about first over here on the flagship. But we appreciate y'all for joining us live. Appreciate y'all if you're watching us on demand. Remember, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We're only 1,500 subscribers away from our goal of 20K for the end of the year. Only a month and a half go in 2024. So let's get it in. But for Miss Krssi Love, for the True Josh, it is me, your Tru Heel Phenom SP3. This has been Tru Heel Heat 302, the dynasty within the bloodline. We are signing off until next time.
Laters.